like to call our board meeting to open session. Thank you all for being here. Would you please stand for the
Yes.
pledge of allegiance? Pardon me. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Okay, I would like to move to approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion and a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Great. Input from the public regarding items not on the open session agenda. We don't have any notes in. Does anybody need to say anything? No? All right. Consent calendar. I need a motion to approve the consent calendar. Thank you. I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye. Great. Consideration of approval of the February 21, 2024 minutes. Can I have a motion?
I move the minutes. Yeah. Love it.
Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Great. All those in favor? Aye. Great.
Julie, we need to, do any public comment?
Does anybody have any public comment about the minutes? You do, sir?
On
Not
second
about the
thought, no,
minutes.
I don't.
Regular public comment.
I asked if there was, and nobody raised their hand or turned in a slip.
I don't think he understood that.
Can I go backwards?
I think you should, but he's needing to state.
Would you like to say something?
I have nothing to say about the items on the agenda, so I would like to take that back. I missed the time for regular public comment, so.
Oh, on things not on the agenda.
Yes, yeah, that was just a simple mistake on my part. I apologize.
Go ahead and make your comment. We would like to hear it.
Okay.
I need you guys to
Yeah.
remember to talk into your microphones, even when you're making your motions, because when we played back the record, it's really hard for us to hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem.
All I am here for to say is, I spoke at a prior board meeting about the pride flag. And I received a lot of praise. I've also received a lot of criticism. The number one criticism being that I confused a lot of people with what I said. So I thought that I would take the time today to clarify. If anyone has any questions on what I said, I would be happy to restate what I said, provide any insight, any clarifications as to anything. It's really important to me that I address my criticism. So thank you. No one has any questions then?
Because it's not on the agenda, we can't interact on it under this.
Okay, I understand. Well, thank you. And if there was a way that you could ask questions that you're confused on, I'm sure you would. But I understand that there are procedures and rules. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I thought you were very clear in your message, and we appreciate hearing your opinion very much.
Of course, thank you.
All right, action on items heard in closed session.
There's nothing to report out.
You. Reports, student board representative, Karis.
All right, hi everybody. Super short report today. It's been a fun few weeks on campus since the last time I gave a report. Last Monday, we had our Winter Sports Awards ceremony to close out the winter season and honor all the athletes who competed in it. Spring sports are already underway, with every spring sport having had at least one game so far. Last Wednesday was Chilingo, which is our combination teacher chili cook-off and student bingo night. Leadership's freshman class was in charge of planning and hosting this event, and they managed to raise over $450, even while competing for attendance with last week's board meeting, which I know a lot of people showed up for. Also at Chilingo was a bake sale held by the Annalee Best Buddies program. My peer and one of my best friends, Cassie Avila, is the president of the Annalee Best Buddies Club, and she has been working with other similar programs across multiple Sonoma County schools to raise money for and host a special needs prom at the Epicenter on April 6th. In the next month, we're looking forward to our prom on April 20th. We'll be holding our prom at the Turn 11 at Sonoma Raceway with the theme Grand Prix. Leadership's junior class has been hard at work planning this event for months, and I know there will be a great time for everyone who chooses to attend. Unfortunately, I have 2 tests tomorrow, so I'll have to excuse myself pretty much right now so I can go study. I'm very scared.
I'm sure you'll do very well. We have total faith in you, Karen. But study on, that sounds great. Thank you for the report.
Thank you, everybody.
Principal reports. Who would like to go first? Great, thank you.
Okay, good evening. Relatively short report tonight, but I just want to talk a couple field trips. Late February, we went to the Academy of Sciences with the kids. We had about 25 students go. It was a great time. Just got to play with interact with exhibits, and it's always good to get off campus and do something fun like that. End of March on the 29th, the last day of the third quarter, we have our field trip to Santa Rosa Junior College. So we'll be touring the campus, the different departments, kids will get a chance to eat in the cafeteria. So we're looking forward to that. Sticking with Santa Rosa Junior College, we're kind of doing an audit of our enrollment this year. And currently we have students enrolled in 25 courses at Santa Rosa Junior College. So that's been the high mark since I've been here. So we're very proud of our students for taking on that initiative. Last Saturday, myself, Mr. Myers, and a handful of students volunteered to be part of the Forest Park. So we got out there and braved the rain, got a little muddy, and did some work removing blackberry bushes and weeds and things like that. We have tomorrow, we are expecting delivery on our second piece pole. So last year we had a number of students work on 2 piece poles, and this one is just been getting finished. Long story, but got to get repaired. Anyway, we're really looking forward to getting that on campus, and then we'll work with Jenny and find some spots on campus to display those. So we're looking forward to that. And we have just a couple of exciting opportunities we have through Big Picture Learning and the Upstream Collaborative in April, an opportunity for 3 of our teachers to go up to Cloverdale on April 16th and 17th and work with other teachers and advisors who are doing that work in other schools throughout the state. I think there's going to be about 35 educators there. So we're looking for an opportunity just for us to continue to learn and grow in what we're trying to do with our Big Picture Learning initiative. And then lastly, next Monday, I have an opportunity. I'm going to go up to Redwood High School. It's a continuation high school, and visit with the principal there and get a chance to just explore and collaborate, and just an opportunity to learn about what they're doing to see if we can take anything back and vice versa. So some exciting PD opportunities for our staff coming up, and that's all I have.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Chuck Wade, principal at Allen High School. As the board knows, we had a threat to our campus last week, later determined not to be credible. Came to us via a student's Google Classroom account. I want to take a moment to thank a number of people who were helpful in assessing the situation and ensuring that our campus is safe First of all, the Sebastopol Police Department, I think between Chris and myself, we spoke to everybody who works there last weekend. They've been super supportive and helpful, both in the ongoing investigation and in messaging and being continuing presence on campus this week. A number of folks at the district office were helpful, Chris, of course, but Jenny and Jay Fabian, their team, continue to work on it. Really appreciate the support. And finally, a number of teachers who answered calls and texts and emails over the weekend. I want to name Junie Curtis, Lily Borgeson, Henry Atherley, Nick Stoll, McKenna Hurd, Tim Forslund, Nancy Williams, and Clay Pafford. Also got lots of help and support from our amazing parent community. More cheery parts. With the sunny weather, we're starting to see it's feeling like spring on campus. I'd like to mention some of the exciting things I've seen over the past few days to give you a flavor of what it's like at the site. Today, in fact, we had our closed closet grand opening. 100 to 150 students visited. It'll be open and an ongoing every Wednesday in ongoing fashion and by appointment. Sheila, Jennifer Jensen, volunteer, Bonnie Bowen, and Julie have been super helpful in making that happen. It looks fantastic in there. Looks like a little boutique. It's pretty cool. We have new bus stops added to our Route 203 West County. Gianna in particular worked hard with some parents and leadership at the transportation service. We'll still need to work to refine the logistics, but we are excited to be able to offer new and safer pickup and drop off locations for the bus route. Our amazing teaching staff continues to create really engaging learning experiences for students. This week I saw a lot of cool things. I visited Christy Lubin's RSP English 11 class. They're completing a simulation and competition around occupational safety and health. Ari Stir and one of our amazing new art teachers is working on an outdoor sculpture project, which will revitalize and enhance the garden area outside the culinary arts classroom. It's pretty cool. John Gregg today was working to create a culminating activity for his 20s unit, which will require students to follow clues to discover the location of a speakeasy on campus.
Cool.
He even got some of the officers who are around campus this week to agree to be on the take and interact with them. Sarah Cook, culinary students, just completed a catering job for Canine Companions. It's the second one they've done for them. They earned more than $20,000 for the program. Or sorry, $2,000 for the program.
I was like, oh, that's good.
Clay Pafford's Woodshop students worked with Julie in the library to create charging stations that are going to circle the new furniture in there for students. I want to give a shout out to our work-based learning coordinator, Stacy Fortin, who's been working really hard to provide authentic career preparation experiences for our students and get them college credit while they're at it. This spring, we're the only high school in the county with more than a dozen student internships where students are simultaneously earning college credit at the JC. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Association reports. Anybody here for teachers? I can't really see the voice. No? How about CSTA? Okay. Board reports. Debbie.
Yes. Had a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. I remember last year around this time, we started talking about the Becky Hopper Make a Difference Award. And on my way home last week from this meeting, it occurred to me that I would like to nominate Leo for that award. The award is in recognition of dedication and service to our students that far exceeds the requirements of their position or affiliation with the school district. And I know last week's topic was about the importance of the position, but what we heard from so many students was, current and past, that, she's a person who definitely goes above and beyond in her role. So I just wanted to put that out there. And, maybe that's gonna come back on our agenda in the future. I wanted to also mention something that's come up to me. A few people have asked about language access at these meetings, and I haven't been able to find anything myself about what somebody could do if they're a monolingual Spanish speaker and they wanted to come and participate in this meeting. So I don't know if that's something that we already have available and I just wasn't able to find it, and we could just make that more accessible for people, or if that's something that we could potentially discuss either in the DEI committee or as part of the LCAP process. Also, we received this letter, and Chris will probably talk a little bit about it, that Christy White is going to be beginning an exploratory study on the part 2 of the unification scenario number 2. And she asked if she's looking to schedule meetings the week of April 15th. And I just wanted to put it out there that I would very much like to be a part of one of those meetings. And I know she said that you know, she could participate in a board study session. So if there's more than a majority of us that want to participate in that, we could perhaps do a board study session and agendize it. Otherwise, if less than a majority, I would like to be a part of that, if possible. And then I just wanted to make an announcement. On March 28th, a lot of us are going to be at the LCAP meeting. However, at Windsor High School, SCO and LOCN are putting on a youth perspective conference. It's in the evening. And I would absolutely recommend those of you that don't have an impacted schedule due to the LCAP schedule, that you look into attending. It should be a really great night. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jeannie?
Yes, I was going to make the same comment that about Christy White letter, and that if in fact there's more than 2 of us that are interested in meeting with her and Chris, that I definitely would like to participate as well. So I guess we'll just have to see how that plays out, but I just wanted to put it out there. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Thank you. We hope your tongue gets better.
Thank you. Me too. Looks terrible. Sean?
Nothing at this time.
Lewis?
Just, I'm looking forward to the DEI meeting later this week, where the whole pipeline will be discussed. Hopefully, otherwise, I don't know.
Okay, concerning the pride flag, I know the rest of you were aware that someone put the pride flag on the flag that was there this morning. Unfortunately, kind of circumventing our whole process and the process of the DEI committee. The board's process is designed to give as many people in our school community a voice as possible. And although sometimes our decisions take a little longer than people would like, there is a reason for that, and it's to give everyone a voice. So that was unfortunate that someone decided that their opinion was more important than the whole school community. So I was a little bit disappointed in that. But I also look forward to the recommendation of the DEI committee. And I'd just like to mention again, Jennifer Jensen opened the Annalee Closet today. And I want to say that she was so excited because the kids at Annalee were so enthused, so helpful, and started talking to her about donating clothes. So it looks like it's going to be kind of a swap meet type of deal. And she just had the best time with all the kids there today. So that was really great.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you for doing
that's my report. All right. Superintendent report.
So, Chuck spoke to this, but I'd like to just echo a few of those sentiments. So I'd like to thank, all of our staff in terms of collaborating. Obviously, Sebastopol Police, Captain Hickey for speaking directly with the Annalee staff on Monday morning, and the Sebastopol Police Department for their ongoing presence on the Annalee campus and around. Big shout out to Jenny and the full IT department, and specifically Jay, for their work in terms of collaborating with not only district administration, but directly with Sebastopol Police. So we thank everybody that supported those efforts in terms of ensuring the safety of our campus. Really like to focus on negotiations tonight. Just say a few things. So very pleased with our process and outcome with our negotiations with the Teachers Association. Excited to present the TA to the board for ratification tonight. It was a very successful process, and rarely do you go through negotiation sessions without having a CTA rep or legal advisor on the district's behalf. And I felt that the conversations and the sessions were collegial and interest-based, and we were able to come to what we feel was an incredible agreement. Really excited about continuing our process with CSEA. We had a very good session on Monday, the 26th, and we look forward to, this past Monday, we look forward to continuing our collaboration on March 26th, and hopefully we can come up with successful outcomes. Debbie, I wasn't planning to provide an update until I meet with Christy White, but I will acknowledge that we did receive a letter that informed us that there will be an exploratory study continuing from the initial unification report that was put out and presented last year. And so we're curious to see what that's going to look like, and I'll provide an update once I learn more, because I don't know exactly what that's going to entail. But I'm curious, and I'll make sure to inform not only the Board of Trustees as well as the public when we learn a little bit more. And that's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you very much. Education services. Oh, do we have?
We have our representative from the teachers union. They may want to speak. Lily is here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Lily, did you want to give your report?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks. We have a hard time.
We have a hard time seeing where I can
Claire.
No, I was at the Annalee Library. Yes.
Oh,
Is the next board meeting on?
He knows.
Is it at Annalee?
no, it's again.
Okay.
I'm hoping it will not be at Annalee.
Good evening, I'm Lily September, president of the West Sonoma County Teachers Association. As a representative of our 105 members, I want to express our gratitude for such a positive contract negotiation outcome this year. Your commitment to prioritizing teachers in the budget is commendable. 5 years ago, I sat in a board meeting in this library as the board voted to add restrictions that limited trustee interaction with the employee association, when not in the company of the superintendent. I asked the board to clarify what they meant by the association, as the nature of an employee association is that all of us are the association. At the next board meeting, it was clarified that the board wouldn't be meeting with any employee without the superintendent being present. The excuse was that conversations would lead to negotiating outside of the official negotiation process. I'm glad to say that there's been a culture shift, and trustees are now encouraged to meet with the WSCTA leadership and at our union hall, no less. We now have bold trustees who ask questions, meet with employees, and push district leadership to keep us competitive. It's through this collaboration that we can continue to provide the best education possible for our students. As we look ahead to the next academic year, I urge you to consider our strong enrollment projections and allocate the appropriate number of sections that we need to accommodate our student population. Low student-to-teacher ratios play a crucial role in student performance. Research consistently shows that smaller class sizes allow for more personalized attention, fostering better academic outcomes and nurturing individual student growth. Additionally, we all want to avoid the awful situation we had this fall when 5 classes needed to be opened well into the start of the year. When we don't plan ahead with the appropriate number of sections, students suffer and parents wonder if we really know what we're doing. I have to return to the need for additional portable classrooms. The shortage of classrooms is leading to a lot of teachers who are forced to share space. Providing our teachers with their own classrooms is not just a matter of convenience, that directly impact student achievement. Having a dedicated learning space promotes stability, continuity, and a sense of belonging, all of which are fundamental to student success. I urge you to fulfill the promise made during consolidation that we do, in fact, have enough space to accommodate all of our students at the Annalee campus. Please authorize the installation of additional portable classrooms as soon as possible. Let's continue to prioritize the needs of our teachers and students as you did this year with negotiations. Thank you. Do you want me to turn this off?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lily.
Okay, we are in educational services, a part of our board meeting we've all been looking forward to, the Annalee Agriculture Program Recognition. Very excited to have you here. Trustee Fernandez will read the names and then we can honor you.
They have a presentation, so
I would love, I like to say that, we will do that right after your presentation, and thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you to all of our families who were able to make it tonight. It's exciting to see the sea of blue jackets kind of take over the library. I'd also like to thank the board for the invitation tonight and to Superintendent Meredith for coordinating that on behalf of our program and our students. My name is Emily Locke. I am the plant science and an agri-science instructor at Annalee High School and one of the FFA advisors.
I am Heidi Nicholson. I am the ag mechanics teacher and another one of the advisors. Hi, my name is Courtney King, and I teach the ag business pathway as well as ag chemistry.
So we kind of have 4 different recognitions tonight. We're going to start off with the State FFA Degree Award. So before we recognize the students, and I think most of them were able to make it tonight, which is exciting, kind of wanted to go over the qualifications for this award because this is a really prestigious award that our students have earned this year. This year, our chapter has 11 state degree recipients. And to earn that, they have to be very invested into their agriculture kind of career and pathway that they have through high school. All of our students are juniors and seniors. They have to complete 4 semesters of ag education. So they have to have been a member for at least 2 years and be in their 3rd or 4th. Beyond that, they have to have previously earned the chapter FFA degree, which we give out at the chapter level at our annual banquet. They have to have worked a minimum of 500 hours on their outside of school ag-related project. Every student in our program is required to have what's called an SAE, which is Supervised Agricultural Experience. And that's really just an immersion project where they get to gain more hands-on skills and make industry connections. So they have to have at least 500 hours in that. And then at least $1,000 earned or $2,000 productively invested. That's their SAE requirement. Beyond that, there's more. They have to complete 25 hours of community service with at least 3 different organizations. They have to pass an exam on parliamentary procedure, and a lot more than that, serving on committees and a few other kind of what we would call smaller things, but it's a lot that is entailed into that award. And so we have 11 total this year from our chapter, and I'm going to turn it over to my teaching partners to introduce those students.
Okay, so our first recipient was Landon Avila. He is currently a junior at Annalee. His SAE projects are swine production and entrepreneurship. His FFA, Annalee High School, and other involvement include being part of the football team and fishing on his free time. And his future plans is to join the workforce and go fishing every weekend. Our next recipient is Nathan Dooley. He is a senior at our high school. His SAE project includes swine production and entrepreneurship. His outside activities are being a part of the Annalee High School baseball team, and his future plans are pursuing a career in plumbing and trade. Our next recipient is Rebecca Fico. She's a junior currently. Her projects involve sheep production, beef production, and agricultural sales. Her outside involvement is showing sheep at Jackpots, which she just went to this past weekend. And her future plans are attending a four-year university to continue her education in ag business and animal science. Our next recipient is Shelley Hand. She is currently a junior at Annalee High School. Her SAE projects are nursery operations and agri-science. Her outside involvements include livestock judging and grapevine pruning teams, and she's also very active with public speaking activities. Her future plans are to attend a four-year university to pursue a career in agriculture education. Our next recipient is Callie Evaldi. She's a junior at Annalee High School. Her SAE projects involve beef production. Outside involvement is she loves showing her cattle, and her future plans are to attend the Santa Rosa Junior College for Veterinary Science program.
Right, the next one is Isla Care, sorry. She's a junior. Her SAE is small animal production, which through guide dogs for the blind. Other involvement includes livestock judging and the grapevine pruning teams. And her future plans, she wants to further her education in animal and plant sciences. Then we have Jesus Martinez Diaz. He is a junior at Annalee. His SAE project includes a fruit production placement at the Dutton Ranch. His other involvement on campus is the livestock judging team, grapevine pruning teams, and the El Credo de Buffet contest. And then he would like to further his education in plant science. Next up, we have Brady McCallum, a junior at Annalee High School. Her SAE project is in swine production. Her other involvement includes the showing pigs, and then she hopes to or plans to attend a four-year university and pursue a career in the medical field. Fiona Prather is here tonight. She is a senior. Her SAE project is in sheep production, and she plans to attend UC Davis this fall. Next up is Landon Smith. She is also a senior, and sheep production is her SAE. Her other involvements are with the Girl Scouts, and she plans to attend SRJC this fall to pursue a career in ultrasound technician. Erica Torrey is our next one. She is also a senior. Her projects are in equine entrepreneurship and a volunteer firefighter. Other involvements include high school rodeo and Sonoma cart. Her future plans include attending SRJC this fall to complete fire science and technology EMT programs.
Do we want to move on to the next, or do we want to just keep going?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, perfect. Oh, okay, so I'll take this one. Okay. So really exciting. This last week, actually, it feels like a month ago. It's been a lot going on. We traveled up to far North Coast, Eureka area, and we had two students who applied to be regional FFA officers. So just like how we have our chapter officer team of Sebastopol FFA, we also have officer teams at the section, region, state, and national levels. California FFA has over 100,000 FFA members, so this is a really big deal for us to have a regional officer, let alone two. Both of these students you see pictured on the screen went through an extensive interview process after completing a paper application and filming introductory videos. And then they both made the final round. They made a slate where then the next day they had to get up on stage in front of the whole region, answer some questions on the spot, like job interview questions on a microphone. And then they were elected to their position via a vote by all the chapters. So our North Coast region goes all the way up to Crescent City, all the way down to Half Moon Bay. So that's a very large region of California. This year, we have with us tonight, Jesus, if you'll stand, Jesus Martinez Diaz was elected as the North Coast FFA Region Secretary. And then unfortunately, she was not able to join us tonight. Bailey Cassidy was elected as the North Coast FFA Region Vice President at Large. So she'll serve the whole region in that position. So we are really excited, very proud of those two individuals for going above and beyond.
So next we want to recognize one of our members who went above and beyond to the Sacramento Leadership Experience. So the FFA offers many different
conferences and experiences through their years in high school, starting with Green Hand Leadership their freshman year. They go to Made for Excellence. They then go to ALA, and they end up at SLE, which is the Sacramento Leadership Experience. So each year they have this building block of conferences they can go to that train them and teach them leadership skills and how to connect with others. And so Hannah Campanile, she was one of the top 75 FFA seniors that were selected. There was over 150 applications that they went through, and they chose her as one of our applicants. So we're really proud of her and her accomplishments. She was able to go into this conference with some knowledge out of her ag, government, and econ class, take that knowledge and grow and build off of it. At this conference, they teach you what our government does, what is policies, what are bills, advocacy for our industry and as well as others. And then on top of that, they get to meet with other industry professionals and legislative members and have those conversations of how do our decisions and their decisions impact what happens in the real world. So it's a really awesome opportunity. She learned a lot, and I'm really happy that she could be here with us tonight. I'm gonna ask my co-coach to join me for the grapevine presentation. Thank you. Perfect. So this is my husband, Riggs Laka. He's not just my husband though, he's also the vineyard manager of America's Vineyards right down here on 116. He was a graduate of this program. So he went to Alena High School, was in Forestville FFA. Parents founded the Ag Boosters. So really big ag community and background, and I am very fortunate, not just to be married to him, but to have him as a resource in our program, especially when it comes to viticulture and plant sciences. So together we coach the Sebastopol FFA grapevine pruning team. We started this team a few years ago. The first year was a learning year. Gabe was on that team. He's in the crowd, alumni over there. And so we learned a lot as we keep going through. Our first year at the state level, we were 9th, and in the last 2 years, we've been 3rd, and which is really, really excellent. So I want to talk a little bit about that. The grapevine pruning competition has a lot entailed into it. The students, of course, are learning how to cut back the previous year's growth on the vines themselves to set the vines up for the production for the next year. With that, they have to learn really kind of 6 different ways to do that because they have to learn how to prune wine grapes, which is our #1 commodity here in Sonoma County, but they also have to learn how to prune table grapes, which are what you buy in the grocery store, and raisin grapes, which are farmed a completely different way for raisins. Beyond that, within those 3 types of grapes, they have to learn how to prune them in a cordon style and a cane style. So 2 different pruning styles with those different types of production. They are very smart and very talented. They also have to take an exam. So it's their least favorite part is studying on the book. I'll even say it's a hard book to read. And so really want to recognize these students. They are judged at the contest based on their quality of how well they prune the vines, but of course also their speed. Coming from the North Coast, Sonoma County region, we're really at a disadvantage when we go to state level competitions because we all know we live in wine country. We have the highest quality vines here. They look absolutely gorgeous. I think we're all pretty blessed to live where we do. And so with that, when we leave Sonoma County, grapes are farmed more for production. They're huge. They're like that tall. Our state champion, we'll talk about later, she had to jump into the trellis to reach the canes and the wire. So they're these really huge, massive, not most attractive looking vines. And so we're really proud of how well we're able to do at the state level. What we're going to do first is go through each of the contests, team recognitions, and then we have some individual stuff as well. That's
Sorry.
You're right. Our first contest we went to was down in Lodi. We went to the Tokay FFA High School, hosted this contest. This was a very first contest for most of these students, and they ended up being 4th overall team in the entire contest. And then within the contest, they had some subdivision awards. So they won the 4th high team in cane table grapes, 4th in bilateral, which means the vines go 2 directions, table spur, and then 5th in quadrilateral, that's when they go in 4 directions. wine spur knives. Individually on that contest, he did with 6th high individual overall. We go to We, of course, look to represent at our local county contest. That's in memory of Sarah Lee McClellan Cundy. That's put on over at Showing Farm every year. And 3 years in a row, we've been the champion FFA team overall. So congratulations to our team there. Jesus this year was the Sonoma County champion. He won the whole thing. And then Jacob, you can come on up, was 3rd high overall. They gave out top 3 awards at that contest. So I'm sure if they gave out top 5, we have a couple of names in there too. They did really well at that time. And then the big thing here is the California FFA state finals. We competed against schools from all over California, all the way north to super Southern California. And we were 3rd high overall team again this year. I was really proud of this because we only had one teammate who had previously done this contest before. The rest are all brand new students. And none of them are seniors. They're all coming back next year. Come back with a vengeance. For our team sub-contest, they were the 3rd high team in cordon wine, 3rd high in cordon table, 5th high in the cane raisins, and then 6th in the exam. Super, super proud. Shelly Hance. Shelly, you can stand. This was her first year doing this contest, and she is your 2024 California FFA state team winner. Super proud as well. Jesus Martinez Diaz, this was his 2nd year doing this contest, and both years he was the 3rd high overall individual in the state. In the crowd tonight, I'd like to recognize Lauren Brady. Lauren, you can come on up. This was Lauren's first year pruning. She's a junior. Her first contest at Tokay, she placed 8th overall in the bilateral spur. She was on the county champion team and the state champion team, 3rd overall team as well. Congratulations, Lauren. Jacob Cortez Sanchez, you can stand up. Jacob's a sophomore in our program, a cousin of another one of his teammates, and he did absolutely fabulous this year. He represented at every single contest, so he also was a county champion and was 3rd overall at state. At the state finals, he also placed individually. He was 15th overall in the state in cordon wine, which is pretty impressive. Miss Camilla, you can come on up. Camilla De Losa Sanchez is a freshman. She's brand new to ag. Camilla brings a lot of joy and excitement to our team. We had a lot of laughs. And she was able to go to the Lodi Tokay contest when she was on that team. That was 4th overall. We talked about Shelly Hance, our state champion. Shelly's a junior. She went to every single contest, was on the champion team. At state finals, she was the state champion. She won 2nd overall in cordon table, was 5th in cordon wine, and 10th in cane raisin. Great job, Shelly. Isla Care was a state degree recipient, but she's on our pruning team too. Isla was a junior, or she is a junior. She's still a junior. And she was also on our county champion team this year. Did a fabulous job for her first year pruning. And then lastly, Mr. Jesus Martinez Diaz. Stand on up again. There you go. Jesus is a junior. He had a really great season. Was on our team at Lodi Tokay. At that contest, he also placed 6th overall and placed individually 4th in bilateral spur and 7th in cane table. He was on the county champion team, was our county champion pruner, and he also won 2nd in the viticulture challenge, which is like a quiz bowl. They have the buzzers and everything. They have them like. And then at state finals, he was on that 3rd overall team, was 3rd high individual. He won the division of cordon wine and was 3rd overall in cane raisin. Had a really great season. And that is it for our presentation. So I'm going to turn it back over to the board. Thank you all.
I would like to give a round of applause to not only our amazing students, but our amazing people and staff as well.
So take a picture of them.
Absolutely.
I'll do it. Mia, do you want it back?
Yes, I do.
They're professionals, where you want them to go.
Are they? All right.
They're professionals.
I'm not. Good. Where you going? Okay, where you going now?
Yes, the camera's this way, so we can see you.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Great, thank you.
Well, you guys just come on, and file up. You guys are making one.
Is my microphone working here? I have a portable mic too, if you want one.
Since I can't shake hands tonight, I'm gonna be the reader. You know, you gotta read the name. So this is for the California FFA State Degree, in honor of a certificate of appreciation for Landon Avila. Nathan Dooley. Rebecca Fico, I think, sorry. Shelley Hance. Callie Evaldi. Violet Kerr. Martinez Diaz. Brady McCallum. Yona Fraser. Landon Smith. And Erica Torday. Sacramento Leadership Experience. Hannah Campanile. For the Grapevine Pruning CDE team. Shelley Hance. Jesus Martinez Diaz. Jacob Cortez Sanchez. Lauren Brady. Camila De Loza Sanchez, sorry. And then we have our team coaches. Can't forget them. Emily Laka. And then Reese Laka. And then for our two newly elected FFA regional officers, Jesus Martinez Diaz. And Haley Cassidy. Thank you guys so very much for all being here, and thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate you allowing us to honor you this way, and feel free to leave whenever you would like.
I want to say a big, huge shout out to Karen Lamb, our secretary, for
Yes.
putting all of those together for us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay, we are on number 2, another very exciting item, proposal to create a community maker learning hub at the Laguna El Molino campus.
So I have Dale Daugherty here to present with me, but I'll give a little background information before he presents the slides. So on November 16th, 2022, the Board of Trustees provided authorization to me to explore the creation of a specialized learning program or school on this campus. We formulated a design team, which consisted of district employees, SCO employees, community members, and former El Molino parents. And we conducted meetings throughout the spring of 2023 and have continued that collaboration since then. I'd also like to welcome one of the members who's joined us tonight of that design team, Hillel Posner, who had 2 proud students come through El Molino, and I've had the pleasure of working with Hillel in my prior roles as he was our CTE consultant up in Cloverdale. Really, really excited about this presentation. I think throughout the process, we identified the need to build out a makerspace on this campus and potentially create a maker learning hub. And we believe that that could be the launching pad for informing the educational program of a small, innovative, non-comprehensive high school. So without further ado, I'll let Dale kick off the presentation, and I want to thank him for putting this together and for his support and offer to make this presentation to the board.
Thank you, Chris. There we go. Thank you, Chris. Well, first of all, I'm delighted to present this to you today, and really, it's been in the works for a while, and it's nice to kind of put it in a framework to present it today. I'm going to talk about really what I hope is a partnership that we can launch to try some new things here. Are you going to put up slides, Jenny?
Sorry to launch the slides. My apologies.
Sorry.
Presentation for this item is attached.
That one? Wait, sorry.
Not the proposal, but the other.
There's a written proposal, and I did put slides together.
Sorry, I didn't
Thanks to it.
know that about that one. Hold on.
So just a little background on myself. I started, well, I really helped to start O'Reilly Media, which is located in Sebastopol since the 90s. And out of there, I created Make Magazine and Maker Fair. Really kind of was a catalyst for what became a global movement of people making things. And in some ways, our culture kind of lost the connection to that. And I feel like education has at times lost that hands-on experiential learning. That's really what I've seen over the years in doing this, that how it really appeals to kids. So I'm here talking about a learning hub, which is another way of framing a makerspace. But makerspace could be used for adults to make things. That could be, people producing things, and that's fine. I really want to focus on learning as the purpose here. So if you go to the next one. So on campus here, we have about 3 rooms that I think are really attractive for what I'd like to do. Here's one of them. If you go to the next one, that's the part of the wood shop. This is part of a kind of a classroom that hangs off the next one, which is, has exercise equipment in there, right? But, it was an art studio, has ceramics equipment in there. And so it was a place at El Molino where people made things. And I would like to work with the district to establish a community-oriented workshop where we explore and try out some ideas, working primarily with students, but also some adults. there could be adult programs to help train people in this. If you go to the next one. So, one concept, we used to have industrial arts programs in schools. And I want to coin a new term, innovative arts, which is really about using kind of the new tools we have to solve problems and create change. It's really how you apply technology. That's the creative part of it. It's like AI. It's out there, it's a tool, but who is going to think about a new way of applying it to their life, to their community, to a business? And so that's a practice. It's something you try. It's like sports. You get good at it by doing it over and over. So the idea of this workshop is to explore these innovative arts, first of all, by having access to the tools and materials and expertise and mentorship to learn it, but to do projects. If you could continue, Jeannie. So there's all kinds of technology. Some of it's old. You might consider ceramics old, but there's lots of people in the county that know how to do that. Some make a living at it. There's lots of kinds of craft. There's 3D printing. There's artificial intelligence. But it's more the focus on the process of how do you come up with an idea, refine that idea, test that idea, create something out of it, and then expose that to more people and see if it works. So I think these technologies through the maker movement have become really affordable. And it is computers, but it's not just computers. It's sensors. It's all kinds of things that you put together. It might be a robot. And it's really integrative. It's not so much becoming an expert in one thing. It's like, how do you put them together to make that project? You go on, please. But I think a key thing here is that is to really engage students in projects rather than classes or lectures. To really get them thinking, what do they want to do? What do they want to make? What do they want to build? And then support them in that. And so it's a different model, but for some kids, it really aligns with their motivation. Their motivation aligns with doing this. So for some, it really accelerates their learning because nobody's in their way. For others, it deepens their learning because they get to spend time on something rather than just getting understanding something from a test. And I think really for a lot of kids in the Maker program, I should have mentioned earlier, that I helped with Casey Shea and Keller McDonald start at Annalee. We saw that kids that weren't necessarily high academic performers discovered something. At least they discovered they were good learners. They could do stuff, and that was appreciated by other people. And in a world where you can be sometimes defeated in school, it's important to kind of build up your confidence so you can learn, that you can do stuff. And a lot of this stuff feels, like it's part of the real world. It's something you're going to do when you graduate. So that's something that's a theme through this. I'm particularly interested in students who are not doing well in traditional settings, school settings. Next, please. This is just a diagram of such, but there's a number of things. It's introducing technology. It's making sure the projects are relevant to the kids, to the place they live, the community. Teaching them project management, how to take something from an idea and manage it for weeks on end into something and deliver it. Problem solving is a transferable skill. If you learn how to solve problems in one area, it gives you kind of permission in a way to apply it somewhere else. And then mentorship. And this is, I think, a big thing that community can offer here. We have a lot of skills untapped and sometimes among the retirees and other people who can come in and work with students. Next. So the Makers Learning Hub is a maker space. It has, it is a facility, a physical facility. It has equipment like 3D printing or laser cutters. It'll have staffing, and I think the adults in that are really important. If you go on, I talk about the equipment here. It's not necessarily go through, but there's the thing that I think is interesting to some kids is to walk in and see what's this room full of tools. what do these tools do? How do I learn to use them? How do I get good at using them? And so for some, it might be all digital. They're on a computer. Some it's going to be very physical and they're doing woodworking. But they're going to, I think, start to learn from each other in a group, that the woodworkers pick up the digital skills so they can design something. The kids that are good on computers start to pick up some of the manual efforts as well. Please. Staffing. Model, a lot, I think is like almost like a sports program that you have a head coach. The idea here is you're helping kids practice. You're not delivering a lot of content because most of that's out there available on YouTube or somewhere else. They'll learn from each other. But one of the, I think the key things here is that a lot of learning happens among people rather than textbooks. And there are kids that are really geared to that, particular kids that have some learning challenges. They can watch something and repeat what someone shows them how to do much better than if you wrote it down and explained how to read that. So I think this staffing model, we'll need to, if we go further down the road, we'll have to modify that. But initially, I'm looking to hire some kind of coach in the space that helps recruit students, runs programs students want to be part of, and helps them in that program achieve something. Continue. Partly for pragmatic reasons and nothing else, is to start small, get the space working, offer programs out of it, not necessarily courses for credit. It's just, but where would you in the county take an AI class today if you're 15, 16, 17 years old, or a music creation program, or a lot of other things? So I want to see what people are interested in and where we have people that can help lead those activities. I was saying today, like, how far do you have to drive to be part of a robotics club in the county? Pretty far. I think you have to go pretty far south. So it's something we can do here. So with that, thank you. I'd like to believe that, this is really my goal, is to test out and develop an alternative school model so that those kids that, and you say, well, we got them in the Maker Lab in Annalee. Yeah, but there's some kids that if I got them several hours a day doing that, they really take off. This would be their skill. I would love it when they come back with a bunch of kids like these FFA kids, right? And say, here's what they were able to achieve in the world because they were working in this workshop. And I think the kids, one of the key things here is to build a close-knit learning community where they know each other, learn from each other. Partly talking to Chris is to attract kids who have opted out of some of the traditional schools, but they're not really opting out of learning, they're opting out of school, they just want something different. So homeschoolers, online school kids. And then something else we've had, kids that are way out of the coast. Maybe we can do something different for them that's custom for them to bring them in once a week or have them work remotely in a smaller facility. I think long-term, one of the key parts of this is advisory, is helping kids find the right solutions for them, the right type of question. What do they want to do? And I think part of that is to know them more and then know what options they have. So it won't all be, if that's at school, it won't all be just a maker space. It'll be, what's the best way for them to learn Spanish, right? Or something else. We'll have to figure that out, okay? So first steps, and I think this is our last slide. This is just kind of really where we go from here. I think it's Chris already initiated Jenny look at a lease agreement. How do I lease some space here? What are the rules? I'm getting insurance, such things, right? A memorandum of understanding with Maker Ed. Maker Ed is an organization I run as a nonprofit. I think we'll put it as the umbrella fiscal sponsor for this project. And I have some people lined up that are ready to clean up and renovate the 3 rooms over there. And other people that are anxious to help equip it. And you know, I think once we get a commitment from the board to go forward, we can begin practically doing community engagement, like what would we do here? What do you want here? And develop a better understanding of it. You know, we still need these practical things like a budget and staffing plan. But my commitment is to find startup funds for this and to help it get off the ground. So I'm excited about this. And I think this campus, this could be part of this community school campus, or however we call it here. But it's fun to see people out there playing sports and they have lots of different kinds of activities here that this overall becomes a hub for West County as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Dale. I have some more to
Yeah, I was
provide the
gonna
board,
ask you.
some context, and
Yeah.
then we can take some questions. So,
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, I mean, this is really exciting, and I want to make sure to kind of delineate that, you know, this isn't a school. What we want is a community makerspace. We've talked a lot about building a school, and we think that this could be a pillar of one of the 4 pillars of a community school, a non-comprehensive high school on this campus. And my personal belief is that we call it El Molino. We'll get to that later down the road. But that's been part of the discussions. Dale mentioned, and you know, I don't want to regurgitate the information that's in the background info in this item, but I am giving you kind of a historical record on how we're going through the process and the next steps that would allow us to launch something really amazing for students. And I will remind the board that, you know, just in the past 3 years, and I haven't studied the students that have left this year, and I will, we lost 83 students, over 1 million in ADA. Those kids just didn't want a comprehensive experience. And we have an amazing flagship comprehensive high school. We're going to continue to build that program. But this partnership would give us one of those pillars that would add value to the already robust community resources we've established on this campus. We've got the library right there. We've got the healthcare. We've got the partnership with Parks and Rec. So we want to start this partnership as part of the process of building a new, innovative, non-comprehensive school. We were close to doing something like this when I was the principal at Cloverdale High School. We had an amazing makerspace. We launched all kinds of really cool integrated projects that allowed for our CTE programs and our core content programs to integrate so kids could see those core standards in a different way. What we were really missing was a partnership with somebody that could really support the space. And the starting point, as Dale mentioned, is community resources. Resources for the current Laguna students on this campus. Resources for the students down the street at Forestville. Resources for our community. Creating a tool library. If you've ever heard of Studio 180, it's no longer, but that was a community makerspace in Santa Rosa, and it allowed for makers, business owners to come in and just curious students utilize those tools to kind of explore their interests. So Jenny and I will be working with OHH. We have a meeting tomorrow to discuss the potential lease agreement. That will be brought before the board, obviously before any work begins. And again, I just want to delineate that, you know, this is to build a community makerspace with so many different opportunities and potential to create summer programs, after-school programs, help inform our vision as we continue moving forward with the community school innovative model that we've discussed in prior meetings. So I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask Dale any questions or questions that you may have of myself.
Do you have any questions or comments? Debbie?
Thank you, Dale. I have been a huge fan of the maker movement, probably for about 15 years. I really appreciate that we have someone that you're in our community. We're very lucky to have that, and that we can bring that expertise. My kids both took maker classes and maker camp at Emory. And I think what happens when you have a class in the regular day, you end up being assigned a project and it becomes sort of just like a workshop. And unfortunately, then there isn't that, creativity and tinker time. And we've talked about this, and I can see a space like this really lending itself to people being able to, lose track of time and just dig down and, go down a wormhole and try to learn something and fail and then try again. And those transferable skills are exactly what they need moving forward. We're wanting to, prepare students to be future ready. So I think, and we're suffering from a huge, countywide, probably nationwide, a huge dip in engagement in school from our students. So I see this as a really great opportunity. It's also an opportunity to teach community resiliency skills. I think creative problem solvers is a goal of ours. I really think that's, a wonderful opportunity. I'm just wondering how, like, in this first phase, and this is something, I'm sure we'll learn about more as we go, how kids earn credit for it and how that goes.
In that first phase, it's really just exploration, it's opportunity, to engage students in a different way. And in terms of the school function, we have some further planning to do. But it could provide an opportunity for us to build on our summer school program, which was highly successful running hybrid out of the old Lagoon campus using the Edgenuity Imagine Learning platform for students to take the core classes through this. So I think that, we're always thinking, we're always prototyping, we're coming up with ideas, how we can best serve students, what are the needs. But I think the most important thing as we look outward to building a new school is what are the needs of the community, right? What do the students of our community need? And we're seeing that this isn't just a West County community need, potentially. This is something that would draw students from across the county. We already see a third of our enrollment at A&M High School coming from outside of our boundaries. So, we want to make sure that we're competitive. There's potential to launch, full-time virtual learning opportunities. Windsor just launched SoCo VA, which is Sonoma County Virtual Academy. And their interest is drawing students outside of the Windsor boundaries to increase opportunities for kids and obviously ongoing revenue, as well as support virtual learning opportunities for students that suffer from anxiety. And we know we have many students that just struggle and have challenges being on a large comprehensive high school campus. The really amazing thing in terms of the partnership with Dale is obviously he is the godfather of the Maker Movement right here, established it right here in West County. And he's also a business owner. So the lease agreement would take advantage of that partnership, and the district wouldn't have to afford staffing to run a community makerspace because it wouldn't necessarily, as a startup, be tied into any of our educational program. We see that as the future vision of how that could be another pillar of a community resource on a hub where we could do amazing things for our students and community.
So one of the things you mentioned, which is my other question, you don't really know exactly what the community wants. And I believe in the proposal, it did say that there would be a series of community listening.
Yeah, so that
So
would
what would that look like?
Yeah, I think that's already started in terms of the social emotional need component. We did a full-on presentation. You saw Laura Schmidt and Sheila Richmond, do an update on the community schools planning process. Part of that, and that whole movement is to create a community school, on campuses throughout California. That's happening to determine the social emotional needs of the students as well as some of their academic interests. So we're collecting that data. And as we start to formulate the vision for our new school, right? And that's why I want to delineate the difference between this partnership, while it could be the catalyst for that. So really the short answer is we will host workshops with our design team. We will visit our feeder schools. We'll really find, and through listening to the parents, because I talked to all those parents of the 83 kids that left in the past 3 years, or at least as many of them as I could get on the phone, that really informed a lot of what their needs were. They left the district looking for small, hands-on, project-based learning, advisory-based, industry-based, internship-based, hybrid, flexible learning environment. So I think that we've already really informed the greater vision, but the finite educational components, we'll learn more about that through meeting with potential students and meeting with families and meeting with feeder district, school staff and other superintendents. What do the kids want to learn?
Okay, so that addresses the community school, and I apologize, my question was more, and maybe I misunderstood in the proposal about this, so I'm just clarifying. I think what I would like to see, I mean, I'm a big fan of this, huge supporter of it, but what gives me a little bit of pause is that a building that was put here to be a school, that we would parse parts of it out for something that isn't a school without the community having a chance to weigh in. I honestly think that the community would be very accepting and enthusiastic and thrilled about this. But I would be a little bit hesitant to put this through without having a town hall where Dale comes back and presents this and people get excited about it. And I think that could serve to promote it in the community and then also give us, as the people who represent the community, are making sure that we're doing what the community wants with their building.
Dale's done a lot of rounds, not only in West County, but throughout the entire world, really. And I know Hillel is very connected to the community.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of that work has been done. So I'd love for Dale to maybe share a little bit about what you've heard, because we already have community resources.
We talked about it at Rotary.
Yeah, we talked about this at Rotary. I made a presentation at Rotary. I talked about it at Russian River Rotary last year. So I think we have time to further develop the educational component of a new school. This would be providing a community resource.
Yeah.
And Dale, please speak to that. What have you heard in terms of the needs?
Well, I have to say, even when we started the Maker Lab, I initially had it in my offices at O'Reilly. And we just invited, school administrators in and teachers in and family, we had open houses. Once you have the environment set up, I think it's not something everybody kind of gets just by talking to them. But I think if you have an open house and they see what people are doing in there and they begin to dream, and that's all this is getting them in that process. And they say, well, I know someone who does this, or my kid is interested in that. Could you do that? It is a pretty open framework. But I think getting it started is pretty important. It's not well defined. This is, I think, the challenge in this. So you come in and it's precisely defined, and then people say, well, it's just your idea. I'm just trying to spark it. And then other people will come out and say, I used to do this, I like to do this. It could be this, or it could be that. So I think it's a dialogue that we'll go through. And I think out of that will come ideas for schools and other things. By having kids come here in the summer, having groups start to get together here. I don't think it's talking to people as much as it is showing them. And that's kind of the whole nature here.
Well, I think, we have Mr. Alexander here, principal of Nona, and I know I don't want to speak for him, but the first folks that would benefit from a makerspace on this campus would be the 85, students that live in high school. And I know that you talked to your students and staff a little bit about this, and how would you see that being beneficial to your program?
Microphones.
Greg, can you step up?
Yeah, I think we're very, very excited about it. And I think as a small school that, quite honestly, with 5 teachers, we struggle with electives. And Dale spoke earlier in his presentation about, the type of student that's looking for something that's non-traditional, that's hands-on, that's a tinkerer. You described 90% of my students. And so I know Debbie, you had a question about how do we do credits and all of that. We're doing that with big drawing, getting creative with math standards and all those types of things. So for us, having space, equipment, and the head coach, as Dale said, is somebody in there who's trained and knowledgeable, and also it's just an exploring space. It's something we're really excited about. I think would be an incredible asset to our program. And I'm gonna speak for some of our students right now. I know that a lot of our students would also get in there and tinker and work, and then would be like, there are opportunities to get in here and volunteer and teach and do those types of things. So, 100% on board.
I'd also like, Hillel, if you don't mind, can you talk a little bit about the idea of a tool library? And you're really well connected with, and if you don't, I can speak for you. But the idea of a wood chipper with everybody's, properties and some of the different tools that could really help, the residents of West County.
Sure.
Step up. To the
Microphone.
Rest on the podium today, but so I was a high school teacher. I taught wood shop, but I came from industry. I ran a small internet company, a hotel in the Caribbean. I did all kinds of strange things. And when I started teaching wood shop, I was like, okay, this is great, but there aren't that many jobs specifically making furniture, podiums, things like that. And so we started expanding it to digital fabrication and taught kids design thinking and how to just make things regardless of what the material was. And so, and that's how I met Dale years and years ago, because he put a framework around that, whereas much of us teachers were just kind of like making it up as we went along. So then my kids go to Elmo. My son is graduating mechanical engineering from Cal this semester with a master's degree because he went through Mary Beth Smith's Maker program and fell in love with it, but didn't really have an opportunity after school to continue doing the stuff. He had 54 minutes. It's just not enough. And so you do PE, but then you do sports after school. And where do the maker kids fit into that? I know I'm getting to the tool library. So, so the need for the community is just massive in so many ways. And I was trying to think of how I would have answered your question. And as a community member, it's similar to the idea of a library. When you're building civilization, I think it's important to have the resources of a library. And libraries have expanded to include computers and all kinds of other things, not just books anymore. And I think the maker space itself, I think you have to conceptualize that. It's the foundational piece of which learning in general happens and community building happens. And the tool library is just an extension of that. It's an opportunity for community members to actually access the literal tools that we use to make everything in our world. And whether it's a chipper shredder because we have fire hazards in our community, and most of us can't afford to have a chipper shredder, not one scale that will actually prevent fire around here, but as a community, we can buy them and use them in a tool library. It's also the resources for somebody who just simply has a dilapidated house in the community and wants to get it fixed up, they can't afford it, then would have an access to be able to check out tools and have the staff to support the learning to be able to do that kind of stuff. And honestly, I'm surprised that we don't build tool libraries before we build book libraries in communities. It would seem like the natural extension that books would get integrated into that as they are tools. So, for me, the tool library is an exciting part. I've actually spoken a little bit with Sonoma County libraries. They're marginally interested, they're at least interested in having a conversation about being involved. And I think the answer about the community part is, I guarantee that the community is supportive. The question is, what does the community, how do they want to use the space? And as Dale said, I think it's very difficult to have that conversation until the space is built. We build a space, open it up, and see what are the resources in our community and how they want to use it and whatnot. But the tool library is just one of those ideas that was conceptualized in how do we provide resources to the community.
I'd like to take some other questions from the rest of the trustees because we've only had one trustee that's been able to ask questions.
Can I just say, I think what I've noticed that I think is interesting is the next step for like a makerspace and a CTE pathway is similar. It's how do we teach math, science, English through those programs? How do we help kids fulfill the requirements, learn what they need with their particular learning style in those two different ways of teaching. And I think it's really interesting. I think that the teachers have to be involved and realize that their teaching is going to have to shift a little bit to include working together with other teachers and expanding, what they used to teach through both CTE and Makerspace. I think it's really interesting, exciting, and fascinating, and it meets the different learning styles of our students and our community. So I think it's not only exciting right now, but looking ahead, it feels really exciting.
And I just want to note to ensure there's no confusion, the CTE programs will be at Annalee.
Right.
These will be non-CTE, more innovative programs that are designed not to compete with the Annalee programs as we saw tonight. And I think that that's really, really important to note.
Not more innovative, different.
It's different.
Yeah.
But yeah, any other questions, please?
So I'm a owner of a high-end cabinet making business, so we make weird stuff. And we know that there's a shortage of young people coming into the workforce that are interested or have the skill set to make things that they're more oriented toward digital space. So I think I think this is great. I love the idea of the tool library. I think there's an interesting confluence somewhere to work out between the CTE path and the Makerspace path. Because in the end, we do want to help kids be prepared to make a living and be adults. But we can also, for example, a strict cabinet making apprenticeship program could not really foster their sense of creativity and fiddling. But that sense of tinkering with things and making things eventually leads you to become a great cabinet maker or a great whatever. And so the Makerspace feels like the core competency that then can funnel into the CTE. So I think somehow they work together. I wouldn't want to separate them.
No, see, I think, and we're muddying the water between the Makerspace and educational program. We're going to get into conversations regarding the educational program. So I think, don't think CTE for the vision here. Right. Okay,
Right.
That's a credentialed avenue with a streamlined pathway. And that's not what we're looking to do here. So some of you are new to some of these conversations. But I think let's stay focused tonight on the value of a partnership to build a makerspace. And in terms of who's going to benefit from it right away, it's going to be the Laguna students, it's going to be community members, it's going to be the feeder schools that want to take field trips up. The educational program for a non-comprehensive innovative school will not include CTE programs.
Right.
That's single subject specific to Annalee High School. And mind you, we presented the vision and you approved the brand new building that's going to have a super fabrication lab. And we're going to double down on developing potentially an advanced manufacturing CTE pathway that's high-end advanced maker, essentially. So I just want to make sure that we're delineating what we're really talking about, because there will be no CTE programs in an innovative non-comprehensive high school, because we're going to be looking at flexible learning modalities, teachers that teach outside of their credential, that don't teach the specific and traditional core content, but blend it and merge it through project-based learning. And there's so many different ways that we can do that. We can hire single subject credential teachers and have them teach outside. We can hire multiple subject credential teachers and have them teach a variety of different subjects. That's the benefit of developing a small, innovative, non-comprehensive high school, because you can do some of those things. So I just want to make sure that we caution the board that not to confuse the vision here, the potential for educational program with CTE, even though we're talking about industry, because there's more than one way to prepare students for different industries. So,
Jean,
Yeah, I just think this is so innovative for our community and such a great utilization of the space that's sitting here empty and not being used. And we have a member of our community that would like to be able to utilize it and revitalize it. I see it as a wonderful, helpful fit for our Laguna students. But I see it as such an amazing space for our community members, place where they can come and fiddle and diddle and spend the time that they want doing whatever. I love your idea of a lending library for tools. There were many times when there was something I needed when my husband was out of town, off in God knows where, and I didn't have it, I didn't know where to go. That would have been so wonderful. What a great, great, great idea. And I just think this is fantastic. And however we can at some point bring that into our community school and have it be a component of that, if we can make it be a component of that, fantastic. But in the meantime, we need to work with Dale and get this moving and get the space utilized and energize this and energize the community. And I'm going to be really cliche. If we build it, they will come.
And so I do want to remind the board, this is not an action item, right? This is a presentation. We will be working with Dale, Jenny, and OHH to develop a lease agreement, because that's how we would leverage Dale's partnership under his business license, much like some of the other partnerships that already exist here. Again, it's another.
Chris, it's a nonprofit.
Nonprofit,
Right,
thank you.
business is another thing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I have one thing to add, well, two things. If you don't mind driving to Santa Rosa, there is the Santa Rosa Tool Library. I think he's still open, and it's a really great resource. And the other thing is this Christy White study should be complete in the fall. And then from there very well may be a group of community members that choose to move that forward, in which case this facility may no longer be part of this district. It might be a second district. So
There's no action.
no, I'm just saying,
Study.
right, but as we're looking at MOUs and Dale is offering to put in $100,000 of materials, I think we just need to keep that in mind, that, that might become property of another district, and just, we should
we're
look
board
at that.
members for this district now.
Yes.
And that's what we're talking about, is the district now.
Right,
So we want to do what's best for our kids now in our district.
and I don't know what the
And I
timeline is
think
for
that
opening this
most of
space.
the board members feel
Well,
extremely excited.
We've
about
talked about a lot that I think is great conversation, but very premature.
Mhm.
I understand the study is, again, not an action study. It's an exploratory study. But there's a need right now to further serve our students and our community. And this is an amazing opportunity to partner and outfit the space that I would want to outfit either way with district dollars. So,
Absolutely, and they're all still our students. They're all the students of our community. So I'm just saying, as we're going through this process, that might be not a complication, but another layer.
it'd be something for the Board of Trustees to consider. Again, my hope is to bring a lease agreement forward to the board for consideration at a future meeting. I think that you've all heard the vision. Really appreciate those that kind of ad-lib spoke up and added a little bit of depth to tonight's conversation. Dale, can you think of anything else you'd like to leave with the Board of Trustees?
No, I think, part of we don't know what's gonna happen here, but nothing's happening here. It's the thing that's driven me, is like, we can actually create value here. If someone in the future happens, this is kind of why it's set up as a partnership, I can take my stuff and move it somewhere else. it's gonna be set up that way practically. But if we create something that's really valuable, I don't think people want to.
Well, I don't want to undersell what's happening here though, Dale. Like, we had a bunch of kids playing soccer, Greg's moving the big picture.
No.
This is already a community school.
But,
right?
I'm looking at spaces not being touched, so.
Well, we so appreciate you coming. We appreciate your dedication to the kids' learning, and thank you so much for this incredibly wonderful idea.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dale.
Okay, consideration of approval of resolution number 12, March 2023, 2024, establishing the month of March as Art Education Month. Can I have a motion?
I so move.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Any information?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the final of 3 items that I was really excited to present tonight. It's always fun when you can recognize and support your students for high success, look at potential partnerships with amazing people. And Casey, I can't thank you enough for proposing this resolution. It came in really good form, and all we had to do was modify it to look like a district resolution. I think that, I've been toying with the phrase Art West, right? We've lost some students to Art West. People hear about Art West, but our fine arts programs are phenomenal.
Like that.
And Casey's done an incredible job with his department in developing sound fine arts programs. And he's also brought a lot of value in the PR TOSA section in terms of looking at vertical integration and aligning programs and recruiting students, listening and learning about what those students want and what they need, and promoting our program. So I'm happy to support this resolution. Casey, if you'd like to say anything,
Yes.
Yes.
So I had an early evening coffee for the musical rehearsal. So hearing Dale and other folks talk about something that has community involvement, that has an instrument tool library, has extracurricular opportunities. Of course, my thought is music and orchestra and all those opportunities. So I'm just honored that the board wants to acknowledge all the hard work that my department and especially the students are doing. And I think it's 7:30-ish, so Legally Blonde musical just ended, and it's amazing to see all the students give their all for many hours after school. And, these things are helping students build grit and persistence of their skills through this practice of all of these things. They learn a lot about vocations outside of just regular class times, and these are something that they can carry their whole life. I mean, one of my favorite musicians, Charlie Gabriel, is a saxophone and clarinet player. He's 91. Think of the Rolling Stones, right? They're still doing music. And so all of those sort of things, and it's just really amazing. And I just want to thank the board for doing this. And I know it's a few days into March, and so it's a little late, but I really appreciate it. And I hope this is something we can keep rolling year to year to include the students in the community. So from the bottom of my heart and from my department, thank you so much for doing this.
Any questions from the board? Unity? Ready to vote? All those in favor? Aye. It's a resolution.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Debbie?
Aye.
Keith?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Wood?
Aye.
Aye. Business services, consideration of approval of the 2023-2024 second interim budget report.
Don't do that thing.
All right, that's okay. It's a fun, yeah.
Got a motion?
I move that we accept the second interim budget.
I second.
All right.
All right, so it's my pleasure to bring the second interim before you tonight. And these are activities that run through, the actuals that run through January 31st, 2024, and then looking at projections through the end of June. Tonight, bring before you the recommendation of a positive certification that we can meet our current obligations in the current year and our 2 subsequent years. So as we look at the adjustments to second interim and what's been happening, we look at what's the current revenue that's been coming in,
We've received the finalizations of some of our final grants that for this year, the state has allocated and made final determinations, updating the budget to those grant awards, looking at actual receipts that we've received for like our donations, some of our other funds that come in later on, like Medi-Cal, as those things come in periodically, and we don't know exactly what those are. So we're sending that to the actuals that are happening. And then looking at our expenditures and looking at what has been happening, what do we have projected, what do we actually need, kind of truing up, looking at what's been happening within the expenditure realm. Again, as we look at the second interim for enrollment projections, this is the driver to the establishing our revenue. And we updated our enrollment projections to the demographic study that was presented in January. More on that moderate level of enrollment. We are looking, taking that little more conservative approach instead of overestimating, just kind of seeing where that trajectory in the enrollment projection science demographic study is utilizing the data that we have. And we know that we looked at the data last year in the demographic study, and then what actually happened when we got to the October census day counts, it was higher. So that was a good thing. So if we take that moderate approach to looking at that, and it kind of gives us some flexibility. We're not too high, we're not too low. We kind of land in the middle there. You see the current year projections, and this is updated to the local control funding formula calculator. So we put that data in there. Looking at this year, we're at the 1573, moving into next year, we're at 1548, and this is for the entire district. This includes consortium, SCOs, placements, NPS, not public school placements, enrollment, total enrollment. And then 25, 26 at 1571. We do have a larger senior class material, or smaller class matriculating out, and a larger 8th grade grouping coming into 9th grade. The current ADA you see there, it is going down a little bit over the next year, and then in 25, 26 increasing a little. As we look at the local control funding formula calculator, we have the three options of how we are funded off of them. It's the three-year rolling average, the prior year ADA, or the current year ADA. Currently, we are going to be projected to be funded off of that 3-year ADA for current year and next year. And then we get to 25, 26 with that hold harmless ADA going out from the COVID times. We are actually going to be at a point to where our current year ADA is higher than our 3-year average and our prior year. So we see how that will impact our revenue into the future. And then the 3-year kind of rolling average for unduplicated student percentage based off of the projection. As we look at the revenue projections for that, I show first interim, because at first interim, we saw where that higher cost of living adjustment was budgeted, because we could still at that point, we're waiting for the January governor's proposed budget. And so making those adjustments, I made those adjustments, and for 24-25, that's going from the 394 down to the 0.76%. And then a smaller COLA projection in 25-26. We see that for this year, we have that increased revenue of about $427 in the difference of revenue. Next year is kind of that physical cliff, especially because there is not a large COLA projected, basically almost zero. So we're going to finally take that hit to our revenue. In the past years, the COLA has been high enough that we haven't seen that physical cliff, if you will. But with that projected COLA of only 0.76, our realization is a negative 4.5% in revenue, a reduction.
And we knew that was gonna happen, and we kind of prepared for that and designated at first interim part of that fund balance to say, hey, we know this is gonna happen. We'll need to set some money aside. And now it shows that it's happening. So it's all now calculated out into there. But as we get to 25, 26 with being funded on that current year, and we kind of eat that fiscal cliff that we take that realization next year, we still see we'll see that increase again, based off of the enrollment projections, the COLA projections, an increase of 250,000. As we move into revenue and to the big picture, you see where we're at right now, 32 million, taking that physical cliff down in 24, 25 to 30.4 million, and then in the following year, 30.6 million. As we looked at the projected expenditures, we have those budgeted as to where they were at for Salem at 32, almost 32.2 million for this year, moving to with the natural increases, budgeting a 3% increase for cost of goods and services. We know that they're going to be fluctuate depending on what the cost of goods and services are. Just kind of that more kind of not really conservative at 3%, and we're seeing increases larger than that. But still trying to look at that and plan for those increases, looking at expenditures continuing to increase year over year. That's shown there. The next there's that transfer in from routine restrict or from the capital projects fund to help fund routine restricted maintenance, which is 3% of our actual costs. Briefly looking at the assumptions, again, we talked about the cost of living adjustment and where that is set at. We've built in the step and column into those assumptions, 2% for certificate, 2.5% for classified. Statutory benefits, health benefits continue to increase. They were 8% this year on average. What it actually cost us was, 5% depending, because everybody takes different plans. Our retirement contributions, STRS is remaining stable at 19.1%, but CalPERS it's going to be increasing, and those have been the projections have been adjusted to those projections that have been published out to the school districts. We talked about the books and supplies, operational services, looking at special ed, probably continuing to increase at a 5% increase for those non-public school, non-public agencies, and the various services that we utilize to support students with special needs. And then, of course, the removal of the one-time funds that happen as we spend those and then not going to receive those. Our other larger assumptions are around staffing. We did have projected the 3 certificated FTE for next year that was approved, and there we project again for 25, 26 to take another 2 FTE reduction. But that's just kind of based off of where we're going with enrollment, what happens with programs, what is the revenue we have to support the various programs. So that's what's on the books right now as an assumption and built into the MYP. Classified, we have a reduction built in there for 25, 26 of 1. We did have, we increased the certificate administrator next year and the year out by adding that vice principal for Annalee. The original classified administration, we have the 1 coordinator for wellness that is grant funded. We have received some additional grants so that we'll be able to continue that funding for the next couple of years, because we have got word of some additional funding that's available through the Sonoma County Office of Education and other programs that were there. So we're doing, that's where staffing is. As we look at the multi-year projection,
our beginning balances and the real work of what we can do to support our educational programs and using those one-time funds that we have been provided with, how do we maximize those, freeing up general fund dollars, and we continue to see that we were able to do that in our beginning fund balances, looking at almost $12 million moving forward, current year, and then moving forward, we have a little spend down of that to 11.7. And then continue as we spend those one-time dollars down, we'll be spending that balance down as we look at that. We will be in a deficit spending situation, again, because of the restricted dollars that we do have that are sitting in the county treasury right now. We do have a little start deficit spending in our unrestricted program right now. So we'll have to look at that and see what some of those different dollars that are coming in, what kind of pulls out of the general fund and can be utilized with those other dollars that are coming in. So that'll be looking at as we get those final grant awards into us by the end of this year, move those into budget and see what it looks like at that point in time. So once we get that. But we have a healthy ending fund balance that has allowed us to do some great work that we'll be approving later on, that we'll be considering for approval later on in the agenda. As a state minimum, we meet our 3% reserve in the current year, and in the out 2 years, designate parts of that ending fund balance for restricted balances for our restricted funds. And then we have other designations that are in there. And on the next slide, you see where those components of the ending fund balance reside. And in particular for this interim, as we're looking at the 25 and 26 fiscal years, I have put in there the tentative agreement, West Sonoma County Teachers Association tentative agreement settlement. Those costs as designated as part of our fund balance. It's not approved. It's going to build that into the MYP. So setting that aside as part of that ending fund balance, and we continue to have $5 million in undesignated that really allows us to continue to fund what we're doing, find different opportunities, and to support, the students in our programs that we have. As we look at our cash flow, we continue to have positive cash throughout the years, which is another sign that the district continues to meet its fiduciary duties and obligations. And one of the other things that the county looks at when they review the financial solvency of the district right now. We continue to provide as the upcoming budget related monthly updates regarding budget updates. Looking at secondary today, that in the spring, we'll start working with the sites and really developing the budget. We have our staffing as to what we're at right now, looking at building those into the budget and for ultimate preparation and presentation of next year's budget in June, along with the LCAP development. As we continue on, as I always say, we have our labor partner negotiations that we continue to look at each time and consider throughout the year. And even as things are settled, we still look at what can we do to maximize and ensure that we are the destination district that is supporting of students because we have great quality, high quality staff. And I think that's key as we continue to look at our budget. Addressing any additional economic uncertainties that are still to come. We don't know what's going to happen. We can only plan and take the assumptions that are provided to us and build our budget around those. Really going to have to start addressing any structural deficits that are going to that might happen. How are we really truly going to augment revenue so that we continue to have high quality education for this district? And I think we see tonight that we're on track for that, and that's really what makes me proud, and that's my commentary. Sorry. So, and then just looking at those operational costs that continue to happen on the natural that, we truly don't have any control over. They just kind of hit us, and we need to plan for what's that's going to look like. We do, the next upcoming revision to the state budget will be in May. Those will really be our assumptions that we build the budget off of, and that we'll have to build. And then the state will make their adoption. We'll have the 45-day revise should there be anything significant between our budget adoption and the state budget adoption. And those are things we have to consider as we move along, but we are in a good financial position right now. And as we continue to move forward, continuing to look to see how we can continue to grow revenue and sustain our programs as we continue to see costs continuing to rise outside of our current year and 2 subsequent years. So with that, I recommend a positive certification with second interim.
Thank you, Andrew. I always really appreciate the intentions of your budget. They're always great. Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Andrew, for a nice report and a nice narrative. And for finding a positive certification in there, so kudos. As I look at these numbers though, the question that I have, the margins are close. And we rely on some one-time funding, as you mentioned in your narrative. And we can hope for increased enrollment, but what else are we doing to strategize for this, continual eating down of our ending balance? Is that something you can answer?
Yeah, I think we heard a really compelling presentation tonight that will support the district in further serving our current students, but also attracting and retaining students from outside of the district and preventing students from leaving the district. If we had those 83 students that the report indicates, the data's there, I've seen it I think 3 times now, that'd be another $1 million in this fund balance. I think I've shown the board and the community the ability to think in a creative space, think outside the box, and look for sustainable ways to build ongoing revenue for the board, for the district. I think the obvious is there. If some of those revenues don't materialize, much like many other districts that we're seeing in the newspaper right now, which fortunately we're not in that position, you have to make some tough decisions. Enrollment and staffing have to meet. Right now, we think that they meet. And we think that with the 55 students that we saw come in that were above the projections, continuing to build our elite comprehensive high school program is going to continue to attract students from outside of the area. And it's helping us some of the challenges that other districts are facing. I hope you read the article about Santa Rosa City Schools. I hope you read the article about Roseland, just to name a few. I think what we're doing here is building financial solvency through building programs and attractive educational opportunities that brings kids. Every student is revenue. So my plan is not to get to the point where we have to make cuts to balance the budget. Fortunately, we've been very fiscally responsible to build this fund balance. Mind you, in 2021, the fund balance was $15.
Yeah.
So it's on our radar. It is of concern, but I am extremely motivated to continue working with our teams to build financially solvent revenues that we can bank on. And I think that it just times out with what we heard tonight. This campus is an opportunity to continue to build on the already cool programs we have and community partnerships. But as you've seen in your careers, if you're familiar with education and you're reading about it in the newspaper right now, when revenues and expenditures don't line up, districts have to look at meeting those financial obligations. And we're in a fortunate position where we've seen an increase in enrollment. And I think we're also in a fortunate position in that we've identified how we can prevent losing further students that are our district kids and continue to attract students from outside of the area. So good question. We think about it all the time. We're planning for it in advance. And there are so many different creative ways to sustain and build ongoing revenues. We're going to continue to explore any creative options in addition to hanging our hat on increasing revenues through enrollment.
So with increased ADA, obviously there's also, you know, where there's increased revenue, there's also increased expenses because you have more teachers and more support services for those students. But I think that, you know, that is very important to look at increasing the revenue that's coming in. I just have to say that it does make me nervous to see that we are funding ongoing expenses with one-time money. And that's something that in all of the training that I've had around school budgets, something that we really want to avoid doing. So that's just a little bit of a flag for me.
But we're not. We're funding that with general fund money. We were just more creative than, we were just creative in utilizing our one-time. To build a fund balance that allowed us to do what we did for the teachers, and I can't wait to present that item. But I hear you, Debbie. We're thinking about
Yeah,
it.
we just need to be careful moving forward. We're okay this year and the outgoing year, so I'm not, it's just something that we should all, as, you know, people who are fiscally responsible for the health of this district ongoing, not just for the next 2 years, to just, you know, have a flag on that and be watching it as we make decisions moving forward. And then this, and if you may not have this answer off the top of your head, Andrew, because I didn't ask so ahead of time for it, but if the 5,000, the services and other operating expenditures, there was a big chunk that was higher than budgeted. Do you know where that mostly comes from?
No, I'd have to see what you're
Maybe
looking
you
at.
can follow up with me
Yeah.
afterward.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that was something
Yeah,
that
if you
I.
want to let me know what you're looking at, or come in and we can look at
That would
what's
be
happening.
thing.
I think I want to go back to, if we are using one-time funds, we always have a build back plan as to what's going to happen. So either to maintain those services. So that's always not just funding one-time things and then go, oh my gosh, now what do we do? It's we're going to fund those one-time things, and if we're going to continue to get those, have those things go forward, how do we build them back?
And that's the MYP. And we carefully examine position control at the beginning of last year and continue to do that this year. So look at all of the different funding sources that allow us to free up money in the general fund, including parcel tax, right? So we hear you loud and clear, and please know that I'm not just thinking about this year, I'm thinking 5-7 years down the road for this district and our students and staff.
Any other questions or comments from the community? I was hoping that you would say what usually.
Budget is gorgeous. Thank you, Andrew. And I really do appreciate the sentiment in your wrap up about maintaining quality for our students and us not having to dig as much as many districts do for employees that we want teaching our children. I will say, I think a solid investment that we could make that would bring returns is in having an employee or an employee who has maybe 2 or 3 roles, but who is focused on improving our attendance rate. It is something that is tangible, it brings financial reward, and it is the #1 factor in improving education. If the student's not there, they're not learning. And I can tell you from my classes lately, it's been a problem.
Thank you, Lily, and I can address that. So
Yeah.
I know that, you know, Laura, in developing our wellness center, our MTSS systems, you know, working with site staff, that's something that she has been a real district point, but we still need to, with where our ADA is, look at other opportunities to ensure that, you know, we're supporting attendance. I think, looking at some of the visions that Chuck has for the master schedule and what we can do with educational program, creating more engagement at the high school will also help to ensure that students attend at a higher ADA rate. So there's a variety of things that we've been addressing, planning for the LCAP process. We've talked a lot about how we can look at serving all students, not just our unduplicated students, through a revised, reimagined strategic plan, building a more inclusive school district with the work of the DEI committee. All those things will help students want to attend and attend more regularly. So, but those are continuing efforts, and the work is never done with regard to making sure that we're supporting students' attendance, engagement, and achievement and success.
I just want to say too, going back to my teacher years and union years, is we always said, we want you to spend today's money on today's kids, because what happens with a lot of districts is they deprive the students that are here now in order to save money for future students. And this budget isn't doing that. You're spending money on the kids now and giving them what they need. And I, as a board member of the community, and former teacher, so appreciate that. I really do. Any other comments? Time to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great job, Andrew.
Great job.
It's a team effort. Thank you.
Consideration of approval of AB 1200, public disclosure of collective bargaining unit agreement with the West Sonoma County Teachers Association.
So move.
Did we get a motion? Okay. Have we got a second?
Second.
Okay. Information.
All right, so I am happy to provide you with a public disclosure document this evening. I don't want to take away from what we'll talk about, the actual tentative agreement, and those details. But we did some restructuring of the salary schedule, looking at all of that. The AB 1200 is looking at what is our current cost of payroll and what are the assumptions built on now for the following year to what that should cost the district. So looking at current FTE and the current payroll that is happening within our financial system, building the assumptions and what those costs year over year will look like. So with we just talked about the fund balance and what's happening. That we do have significant funds to continue this agreement and to support this agreement in next year and the second year that is presented on this public disclosure. So I'd like to, it can be funded. We'll talk about details in a minute.
And any questions or concerns from the board? Community? Are we ready to vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Transportation and annual update. Who is this? Chris? Is it?
Oh, no, that motion.
Andrew.
Okay.
Motion to go.
Oh, it doesn't have.
Oh, it doesn't have, oh, it says, oh, am I not on the right thing?
Oh, there's no, sorry, there's no.
Yeah, what am I voting on?
Oh, but there is. Well, you do have to approve it, huh?
Is it not? Okay, we just didn't set it up right.
Yeah, I didn't say.
It says approval of the plan will allow the district to receive
There you go.
reimbursements. I think we do have to approve it.
We do have to approve.
The title doesn't
Sorry.
say in our traditional way of having to. Sorry,
Okay. Do I have
my
a
bad.
motion?
I move that we approve the transportation plan.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay.
All right. So, per education code that was enacted last year, thanks to local legislative
advocacy, thank you, to actually get transportation funded, with a cost of living adjustment each year and to get us at least to 60% of whatever our prior year, expenditures were on the transportation fund. This plan is not really the strategic plan of we're gonna have route X, Y, Z, we're gonna do A, B, C, and D. It's how do we provide, how is the district going to provide services to our students? And looking at particular unduplicated pupil percentage, that includes foster, homeless, socioeconomic, how you're gonna provide services to those, but we are providing services within our established routes to all students for free. Prior, this district had charged students a fee if you didn't qualify for free reduced lunch. That fee is no longer being applied. So all students that are on an established route are receiving transportation services. Any students that are not within one of those routes and need assistance in arriving to school in years past, we've had to purchase bus passes. This current year, Sonoma Transit Agency is providing transportation, public transportation, free of charge to anyone under 18. So we haven't had to do that this year, but we have in the past. And it's not, staff knows what those needs are. They talk with the students. We provide them with that opportunity. There are no changes to the language from last year. We heard that, there's been continued talk with the details that we need an additional bus stop here and that's been working at the site level. So this mechanism here is to look at what are our estimated expenditures for this year to receive those funds next year up to the 60%. We have the transportation add-on that is receiving the cost of living adjustment. So we'd be moving up to $578,400 in that transportation add-on. And then the backfill up to our 60% expenditure cost is $995,000. So that backfill to the 60s is $417,000. But our overall transportation expenditures as budgeted right now for next year, for the current year, is 1.6 million. That includes our home to school transportation, our special ed transportation, and any of the other transportation functions that are coded to transportation services. So that is our cost. That's not field trips. It's really just home to school transportation, getting students to and from school. So with that, let's bring this plan before you to approve tonight.
Chris, I just have a question actually for you. I just thought of it. I know that the bus company is having trouble getting bus drivers, and I was wondering if that was causing any problems with our students getting to school. I know when bus drivers are out sick, it's hard to get somebody to take that route.
Yeah, so Chad's here tonight, and actually we had our JPA meeting today, and he was proud to announce that there's 10 new drivers in training. That staffing hasn't been as great of a concern this year as it had been last year. I think you were 25 drivers short last year. But I also invited Chad to be able to speak to any questions that we might get that I can't answer, but we were excited that through some of the work that Chad's done with his labor partners and increasing compensation and really looking at the needs of the partner districts and doing some really cool work in terms of construction and infrastructure, that they're just rocking and rolling, and it hasn't been as much of a challenge. I know that he did mention that attendance of employees has been something that the organization has been working on. But Chad, if there's anything you'd like to offer there, that'd be great.
Sure.
Microphone.
All right, thank you. For those who don't know me, I'm Chad Barksdale. I'm the director of West County Transportation Agency. To speak to what Chris said, we did have a meeting this morning. Our monthly JPA board meeting, just like you do here. And in my executive director's report, I was happy to report we have 10 in training now in various levels, and we have 5 to 7 new ones getting ready to start the class in April 1st. So, which is good because last month I had 16 in training. I know, and we've increased our staff by 5 new drivers since a month ago. So the problem with school bus drivers, it takes 2 to 4 months to get a school bus certificate. And so what we've done as an agency is, like Chris said, was we've created some creative ways to keep these folks. Back in the days, you used to get 20 and go through training and you would have 1 become a school bus driver. Now we get 10 or 15, and we're getting 99.9% of them that are passing because we're able to create ways to keep them employed. One of the biggest challenges for these folks is they have no, in California particularly, a lot of school districts didn't pay for the training process. And so if it took 2 to 3 months, how does somebody go 2 to 3 months without any sort of income? Or they're having to work another job and only come in and train once in a while when they have free time away from their other jobs. So we've created some really nice things through the efforts of our board, and we did some really good things like you did with your negotiations last year. Which I promised results and it appears to be moving that way. So as far as coverage in the West County, we have permanent drivers on all but one. One of them is, I guess it's just more of the terrain, you know, it's where it goes, it gets back late at night, so it's not a popular route among people because our staff gets to bid on the routes based on their seniority. We assign a regular sub driver. We have full-time sub drivers. We don't have a sub pool, so we employ our own subs full-time. And so we typically assign a regular driver to that route so that we can have consistency because we know we've had some struggles in the past and we understand that. And it's always our goal to make sure that we provide consistency, not just for the staff, but for the students. And I heard tonight that, you know, attendance is a big deal. And we don't want transportation to be a part of that problem. We want to be a part of that solution. So.
Thank you, Chad.
Chad, I have 2 questions.
So you want to stay there a little bit.
All right.
Are you always recruiting? Do you just have open or do you open and close based on?
For school bus drivers, it's always open. Always open.
So if there are people in the community that say, hey, I want to help solve this problem, I'll drive the bus. They can go to your website and the application will be
The
there.
application will be on the website, and we post it several other places like everybody else does at Join, you know, Monster, everything. We attend all the local job fairs, which has been pretty productive in the past few years to try to employ school bus drivers, yes.
Right, but I mean, to speak to what you said about there's a particular route that's hard to get people on. I'm wondering if there's people in that particular community that know those roads that might be willing to step up and apply and be
Absolutely.
on that route. And so would that be the Fort Ross route or is that the 203?
That's the one, yeah.
It's the 203 Guerneville route. So that one is the one that you just really have trouble keeping a consistent person on.
Right, so right now we have 14 open routes. So meaning that we don't have staffing for 14 open routes. So what ends up happening at the beginning of the year or through early October is the drivers will bid based on their seniority. And there is a little bit of movement. And when you have 14 open routes and you know, everybody gets a route and then you have the 14 left over. And unfortunately, that route was one of the 14 that were left over. And so we employ, right now we have 17 sub drivers. It's to kind of go, I mean, it's about, you try to keep about 18 to 20% in your sub staff to cover for open routes and to cover for absenteeism from day to day. And so sometimes when we get short staffed because we have a lot of absent, that's when we struggle with Route 203. Because we may not have that regular driver to put on it. when we have somebody who's unfamiliar with the area, is running late, not used to the stops. We all know driving out there in the dark, you don't know where kids are unless somebody's standing on the road, and we don't really want them standing on the road because there's no good place for them to stop and or to stand in. So that's when we run into the problems, but that's become less and less of an issue for us. We're seeing positive gains there, and I'm hopeful in the real near future that we'll be fully staffed where we don't have any open routes and we're just covering absenteeism, which in turn will open up our opportunity to offer more services that we had to pull back a little bit, like providing certain field trips within certain time parameters that we can start open back up to support the community and the positive things that you guys are doing.
And what's the pay range for those drivers?
We just increased, starting out, it's like almost $27 an hour, yet with no experience.
Any other questions from the trustees for Andrew?
Are we ready to vote?
I had a.
Oh, I'm
quick
sorry,
question. I'm not totally sure I understand how the reimbursement works. If we're submitting this, document that would allow us to get reimbursed, wouldn't now be the time to add more money to it if we were, because, like Route 203, it sounds like you have a great plan, and I appreciate you being here, because that was really informative. But does putting more money into something like this now have any bearing on our reimbursement, or is the reimbursement handled at another time? Maybe I'm not explaining it very well, but and this document just allows us to get that.
Yeah, so the document is for the compliance purposes, as to you have to have this form here to be able to receive it, and then it's audited through our regular audit. The plan doesn't get submitted to CDE or anything. The reimbursement is based off of prior year expenditures.
Okay.
So should expenditures increase next year, then we would get reimbursed the next year on what those actuals were for that function of transportation.
Okay, and you asked a really good question, because, I've been brainstorming potential solutions, right? And obviously, Chad within his organization is working on solving problems that could cause route challenges. And, because of our unique territory that we cover, right? The routes are long. They were long when they were coming here, right? They're a little bit longer going into Sebastopol. So, I talked to Chad, if we looked at funding additional routes, what difference would that make? And I was surprised that it wouldn't shave a ton of time off of the current routes with regard to the excessive expenditure we would realize. So, I mean, Chad, can you speak to that a little bit?
Sure. So what we're talking about, let's say we add buses that go to the West County area where we formerly El Molino students. What we would do is take the existing stops, split them up between more routes. And really what we're talking about, you still have that time and distance factor that you have to deal with. It's still out there. You're still on the small roads going slow, and you still have to stop and get kids. So you're talking about shaving, 15 minutes off, but the expenditure of over $200,000 for a whole route. So you have to, kind of balance that. Is 15, the more routes you add, obviously the more time you're going to shave, but the more cost associated with it. So, I think it's a balancing act on, I think part of the one, you deal with this every day, is the challenge of the boundaries. It's out there, and it's not a ton of kids, but they still, there's still that service that's needed for them. So, so you can't really weigh a cost against the small group of kids, but at the same time, you're not going to see a whole lot of gains in time by adding routes to that area.
Thank you. I think between the two of you, that answers that question.
Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chuck.
Okay,
Exciting stuff.
Human resources, consideration of approval of monthly personnel report. Can I have a motion? Second. Ray. Yeah,
I don't have any additions to the personnel report that was submitted.
any questions or concerns from the board? Community? All those in favor? Aye. Consideration of approval of tentative agreement between West Sonoma County Teachers Association and the West Sonoma County Union High School District for the 24-25 school calendar. Can I have a motion? So moved. Second?
Second. So I'll be presenting the item, I'd like to just start with some thank yous. So I'd like to start by thanking the West Sonoma County Teachers Association negotiating team led by Lily and Brian Miller, Joel Stickle, and Shaylin Birch. I'd like to thank our team, Andrew Solis, Mia Del Prete, Chuck Wade, and Karen Lamb. I'd also like to thank Miss Julie for joining us for TA Day. We had 4 sessions, 1 session to talk about money. Pretty rare that you get that done in one. But I really attested to the collegial and the environment that we created at the table early and just looking at the interests of our labor partners. And working through language, agreeing, that I think set the stage for just a collaborative approach to looking at financial negotiations. And we really listened to the interests of the Teachers Association. They expressed interest in reducing columns. They expressed interest in maximizing dollars applies to the Sturzable income. They expressed interest in adding 186th day rather than having to agree to an MOU to add that additional professional development day to the contract. They wanted their teachers to be paid on average higher than the statewide average. That really helped to inform, our creativity in looking at an opportunity with our existing salary schedule. Now, our existing salary schedule was not square. Some teachers would move over to the next year and earn $1. So there was a real opportunity to fix that and then look at how we could maximize the district's cost of what inevitably was 9% by reducing some columns. If you could scroll to the next slide. Let me blow that up just a little bit. Thank you. And it's in the agenda. But what we're looking at here is our local comps, comprehensive high school districts. So comparisons. Note that I included Healdsburg. It's a community-funded school. Most LCFF districts would not want to include a community-funded school. In looking at this slide, essentially this shows us how we stack up against the competition. So you have your funding, your pure pupil revenues. Then you have comps for teachers at the beginning of their career in the BA plus 30 step 1, middle of your career, BA plus 60 step 10, and your max steps. Okay, then you look at daily rate, years to max. The district had already done some really good work there, and we'll note that later. Total days contracted, and then benefits where we stood out above the rest historically. Then your total compensation. So through calculating those averages without West County, you can see our distance from average. Again, how we stack up against the rest. So this year, we were funded 820 more than the average, again, including a community-funded district. The reason our funding is a little bit higher than the other unified or city schools is because we're a high school district. We're a union high school district, so we get a little bit more per student. So you can see our per pupil funding is around $14,000 per student. So we were already doing well there, and that's why. In the beginning steps, we were $453 above average with BA plus 30 step 1. Where we weren't doing really well was for our teachers in the middle of their career and at the top. And I'm gonna have to pull this up so I can see it.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's small, finite font. So we were $2,352 below average. We were $5,704 below average in max steps. We were $25 below average in daily rate. And again, you can see where we really were doing well historically already. Me and the prior negotiating teams have done some really good work in allowing our teachers to max out at 18 years with the opportunity to bring in new teachers, veteran teachers with all their years of service. That really helps. Total contracted days, we were 2 above average there. In terms of how much we ask our employees to work versus how much they get paid, right? Our benefits have been extraordinary here in this district, one of the few districts that has an uncapped benefit premium, despite not really being able to predict what the cost of benefits increases will be on a year in and year out basis, as Andrew described in the second interim. And then total compensation this year, we were $5,000 above average. Next slide, please. I wanted to give you some historical context on the past few negotiations deals that have been established here. So in 2017, 2018 was a 1-year deal at 1.48%. 2018, 2019 was a dollar amount, $2,700. I did the math on that. That would have squared up the salary schedule there. So again, I just want to highlight the creativity of our team and looking at an opportunity to maximize the cost that this raise, what it was for the district versus what it realized for the employees. And then you had in 2019 through 21, 4% and 4%. 21, 22, again, that was when the ending fund balance was 15. So I'm not sure what that process looked like, but we were able to apply another $1,000 to each cell. And then prior to me being hired, one of the reasons I was really excited to come here was the district had capped the max steps to 18 and applied an 11% over 2 years. And I knew that I was going to have 2 years to really think, get to know this budget, get to know our staff, ensure that I understand their interests, really analyze enrollment, where the district is fiscally, and work with our team to ensure solvency moving forward. So with this offer, we took a 9% total cost to the district. We squared the salary schedule, which cost us just under $200,000. Then we applied the remaining amount to the salary schedule after we reduced columns. And that realized a 14.72 average increase to each unit number. In addition, because of the fact that the salary schedule had frozen cells and small dollar increments and the traditional columns, when we collapsed them, the year-over-year raise for the employees started at 9% for credentialed teachers. Some will realize at 25.1%. Next slide, please. Really, really proud of this slide.
Working
So
on
first note that the average salary for a teacher here is $97,593 versus the statewide average of $95,160 per the Sacramento Bee. Same formula in determining distance from average, different salary structure. So you see the dark grayed out cells, so I could show you where we collapse columns, but still give you comps for teachers in the beginning of their career, middle of their career, and end of their career. So after the board hopefully ratifies this TA, our per pupil funding doesn't change. We're still very competitive at the beginning, but even more competitive now. $7,900 above average at step 1. Middle of career teachers, $7,800 above average. And max step career, $4,500 above average. Our daily rate is now $27 above average. And we're still better than the rest in terms of top step. And now we've improved by adding that additional day, because that's going to help the teachers realize more earnings over the potential career. Family and benefits maintains elite status, but now our total compensation is even more competitive than your community funded district. I know that funding mechanism is different, but I wanted to include them because I felt like we could do better. And if there's one district that some teachers would look to go within Sonoma County that have a comprehensive high school, knowing that that was a community funded district, we needed to keep that in mind in terms of, you know, our comparatives. So just really super proud of the work that we've done, creating a destination district for students through ensuring that we can attract and retain top talent. I'm going to go back to the item to make sure there's nothing I missed there. And then I'll open up for questions. So to summarize, squaring the salary schedule resulted in a 2.6% step movement for employees year in and year out, 7.12% column movement year in and year out. We eliminated to 2 credentialed columns. The new salary schedule is comprised, 3 credentialed columns. And then we still have our column 0 for intern teachers, which we did ensure that there was a raise there, but mind you, the minimum raise for a credentialed teacher was 9%. The interns saw about a $7,500 increase. The average salary increase that our employees realize is 14.72 across the board. And then we did a little bit more work too. We increased the overage to $8 per student per day. That was something that the union expressed interest in. And we increased our master's and doctor's stipend to $2,000. The thought there was the overage for per students per day used to be $4, we doubled it. The master's used to be $1,000, we doubled it. So I think we put ourselves in a really good position. Obviously, we've got work to do to ensure that we increase revenues, we increase enrollment, but I don't think that we're going to have to hire as many teachers in the future, because we're going to get the good ones here, we're going to continue to take care of them, and we're going to do great things for students.
Any questions, comments from the board?
To state the obvious, we're only as good as our teachers. So this is great. And the other thing I was saying is the turnover is very expensive. So we really addressed both of those. So congratulations.
And I just want to say, I think it's a respectful budget that treats our teachers like professionals, and I'm super happy about that. Anything? Yeah, go ahead, Lily.
I miss the days of yelling from the audience. So yes, to everything, and thank you all for the experience this year. It was a pleasure. I have a whole box of red t-shirts and I was ready for war. So I almost don't know what to do.
Destination district.
That plan more curriculum. So one of the things that we really need to highlight here and to the public, I don't know of another school district in Sonoma County for sure that has the top salary at bachelor's plus 60. They all are bachelor's plus 75, which is a highlight for us that you don't have to pay. We have to pay for those units as teachers, which I know you all know because you were on board with this offer, but for us to pay out of our own pocket 4 units to earn more money, it's just galling to a lot of us. And so to have that number start to edge down makes us special. And we're now the 3rd district in Sonoma County to be above state average. When we started this adventure together 5 or 6 years ago, no district in Sonoma County was anywhere near state average. So we're making slow and steady progress. This is a huge step in the right direction that we need to keep rolling forward so that we don't then slide backward, because it is so easy to have happen with those years with the 1,000 or the 1% or those little tiny raises. put us behind the ball again. So we have to stay ahead of that rolling cost of living increase. Thank you all very much for prioritizing our staff.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
I just wanted to say a really big thank you to the team. So to Andrew, to Mia, to Chris, to Julie for being a part of that, and also to the union and to Chuck for being a part of that team. It doesn't work if the team isn't working together. And I just really appreciate the hard work that went into it, the many hours I know that Andrew and Chris and Mia spent together, just kind of putting it all together, the hours over the weekend, at night, Chris's brain coming up with some funky ideas and Andrew taking those ideas and putting it all into dollars and cents. And I just really appreciate that hard work and pretty amazing. And thank you, Lily. Thank you for the kind words and thank your team for us. And I really just, I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of this board that has done this. I've been doing this a long time and I've never seen this kind of work. And it is such a pleasure to have it gone so smoothly. When Julie called me and told me that it was done, I had to pick my chin up. I was like, what? Wow. I mean, I was shocked and I was pleased and just really amazed and just great work, you guys. Really great work.
This is Brian Miller's birthday today.
Yeah.
I'd also just like to note that, you know, Mia and all of the years, her service to this district, to be able to put something like this together in her last round of negotiations is truly special. And, you know, without her historical knowledge and understanding of our district, you know, she's really helped me along the way in terms of getting to this moment. And I'm really happy that we could do this in her last year before retirement, because I know how much this district and the teachers and classified mean to Mia. So just wanted to give you a chance to say anything too.
No, but you made me cry. Thank you.
And we hope to continue the great work with CSEA. So.
All right, are we ready to vote? All those in favor? Aye. Tell Brian happy birthday.
Yeah.
Facilities maintenance and technology, measure a bond and budget project update.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Good night.
I'm not gonna share on the screen tonight everything that we've been up to. I did share it at home with everybody so that they could follow along. We are ridiculously busy in the facilities department. Some days I don't even know my own name. And if I have to use the word RFP, RFQ, SQL ever again, it'll be too soon. Quick project updates. The main building HVAC project, at the last board meeting, you awarded a preliminary service contract, Wright Contracting. We have started the sub-bidding process that started last Friday. We believe it will be complete by the end of the month. We're on target to present this to the board for guaranteed maximum proposal for that particular project at the April 10th board meeting. We will be starting to procure equipment as of April 1st, which is allowed under preliminary services, so that we can be on target to complete that project over summer. We are actively starting the submittal process with contractors. We are full force ahead with this project, and it has got complexities to it. So we're also currently got an RFP out for inspector of record, as well as special testing. Those are just all the fun little things that we have. Lots of people that we have to hire in order to do things. The remainder of the HVAC projects, which encompass the main building, are the main gym, the small gym, the industrial arts building, the cafeteria, and the East Wing. Those projects are all still in DSA. DSA is having a very difficult time right now. A program called Bluebeam, which is how they upload all their plans, has been down for 2.5 weeks. They finally fixed the bugs in the system, but the programs are still catching up. There is a massive backlog, and I told them, let me know who I need to call in order to get these out of DSA. It's not likely that any of these projects will be viable for this summer. That doesn't mean we won't be trying to work with Wright Contracting, who was also awarded preliminary services for these projects, to try to strategize on how best to deliver these projects either throughout the school year or during breaks. Just remember, it is roofing and HVAC, and lining up all of our equipment to be available and ready when we are ready to go will be really, really important. Let me scroll down on my -3 font screen. Progress on the CTE classroom building. I'm happy to report we're at 100% DD, which is the design development process. We just received those plans earlier this week. We're starting to meet with all of the disciplines. Today we had a meeting with the landscape architect and the exterior lighting design team, and we walked through that whole entire concept, and I told them where I didn't want trees, what kind of trees I wanted, what kind of landscaping would work for our system, where walls would be good, where we wanted pedestrian gates, where we didn't want pedestrian gates, how we want flow to happen. So we're starting to really drill down with these particular teams on the logistics of how these buildings will get rolled out. And I can tell you aren't going to be disappointed. We've also met with the design team with respect to the interior surfaces, colors and finishes. That was a really fun meeting. And we told them to come back with a couple different options that we'll meet with the committee and go through again. We're also in the process of the lease back. We have an RFP out on the street that will be due on the 28th of this month. 28th of this month. Andrew will be participating in the review of likely 12 contractors who might be responding to that. We had 12 contractors show up for this project. 50+ page RFPs. We have interviews scheduled over the course of 2 days. We don't believe we will be able to recommend award of a contractor at the 10th. I've already warned Chris that we may need a special board meeting for that one. Our goal is to get this person on as soon as possible so that they can help us with the constructability review. Just a lot of stuff going on with this project. Again, if you think about it, this time next year, we will be wanting to break ground on that project. Where else am I? The Forestville C building the roof project, that's been completed. Happy to report we are reviving the temporary housing project. I know Lily made mention of portables. We're starting to think of all the projects that we have in queue and what kind of temporary housing we're going to need to supply for accommodating loss of classrooms. So we're thinking about that right now. We have a meeting set up for next week. Forestville building F currently in design for HVAC and roofing. That would kind of mirror what happened at building C. Forestville gym boilers. We just met with the HVAC or the mechanical engineers and the architect regarding that project. We have a solution. They've come up with a solution. They'll be providing us a proposal to replace the boiler in kind. It seems like the most financial option for us. We will not be able to do decarbonization on this project, unfortunately. We just don't have the funds to address that. So our goal will be to replace in kind and likely add mini splits to the former weight room, now wrestling room. Sunset Taft pedestrian enhancement project. We have no new update there. Annalee Stadium project, gym modernization project, East Wing modernization and classroom L1, L2 project, and cafeteria and kitchen modernization projects. Those are all still in the schematic design phase. We are actively meeting with the committees. They have all been really wonderful to work with. Jessica and Andrew had great plans that they showed up with. The science teachers, we gave them a set of plans and then they drew down on the paper everything that they wanted, and they were the easiest group to work with. We've met with video production. We have met with both the athletic directors in terms of the stadium. We're pretty far along. We have one more meeting with each of the groups, except for the cafeteria. We have 2 more meetings with them, and we'll be prepared to present proposals on which projects will move forward. This is where I'll put in my shameless plug for, we will not be able to afford the full scope all of these projects, and we will probably have to make some difficult decisions on which projects move forward. Even though all of them are a priority, we will be very close to allocating all bond fund dollars that we have available to us and future series sales that we have available to us with the remainder of these projects, and still not complete everything. Our goal with dealing with these 4 projects in the schematic design phase was to design them to their full potential and what the programmatic needs are of the campus, and look at future proofing it as well, and potentially having to phase those because we don't have the funding. So my shameless plug is I could always use more money. And so as a district, we probably should be having future conversations about how we fund the remainder of these 4 projects, plus the additional projects that we have yet to address. I am working on Laguna signage. It's got a lot of things in queue right now that are very time sensitive. So this is one of those things we're kind of fitting in to everything else that we're doing, plus some of the other fun activities we've had in the last few weeks. I'm happy to answer any questions. We're really excited that we're very busy.
I have a question about the portables, given how long it takes to do things. I'm assuming we're gonna need them next year, and is that going to be possible to have them ready for next year?
So we're not removing any classrooms over the summer. So the need to have them for the start of the school year is not necessary. The need to have them for second semester will be necessary. Portables are what they call an over-the-counter approval. They do not take as long as other projects take because we procure the portables from a portable manufacturer who's got what they call a PC-approved plan. So it's a plan-checked building. So the process is a lot quicker. I'm already too late for the delivering portables for the start of the school year. I would need to know by January of every year if I needed to add portable classrooms in order to deliver them by August 1st. I do not feel that we are in a position where we won't be able to deliver more classrooms. I know that I've been hearing the need for more classrooms to deal with some of the effects of consolidation, which is something we are considering, but also we're addressing the need for the temporary housing. And I want to make sure we're addressing it for next year and potentially future years as we build out some of these larger projects. So that's something that I've asked Chris when Chuck and the admin team are finished with master scheduling, that it would be really helpful that we know those classrooms at, where their hinge points are, how many classrooms they think that they're going to need just based on what we have right now. And then we will factor in where we think we're going to need temporary housing as well.
Okay, I'd just like to make sure we do that so that we don't miss another deadline or get classrooms when we need them. And then my other question is, do you have any, is there any time, you know, that you might have for the, Laguna sign? Do you have any idea?
Well, it probably won't be installed until the beginning of the next school year, based on lead time for everything.
Any other questions from the board? Community? Oh, geez, sorry.
I just wanted to say, thank you so much for the HVAC project, and I know that the teachers that are in that main building are going to be thrilled to have some cooling come this next school year. So thank you, Jenny, for
Absolutely.
working on that and for allowing us to to change all the everything around.
No, I appreciate that comment, and I just want to be really clear. Our goal is to deliver that by the first day of school. There are variables that are outside of our control. We do have a contingency plan for if HVAC units do not show up and arrive completely on time, on which classrooms we would prioritize. And obviously that would be south facing upstairs.
Great.
Just want to be shamelessly plugging that there.
If I could note, I think Chuck made a really good point yesterday when we were talking about master scheduling and the complexities of building it around, you know, the later periods in the day and moving teachers' preps at those times will help to address quite a few challenges that I think that we've seen. So I thought that was a really good point with the goal that this project will be done before the start of school. So we're hopeful, and I think, Julie, to your question, Jenny and I have talked about the timeline for temporary portables, and that was presented to the board and had been part of previous plans. So we made sure to solidify that because then we can use those portables beyond the temporary housing needs. So
we call portables temporary permanent because once you put them down, it's real hard to take them away. And my goal as a facilities person would be to have 0 portables on campus and have site-built facilities that address all of our classroom needs now and for the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Consideration of approval of a consultant contract with Jessica Peterson for district-wide emergency preparedness and school safety consultant. Can I have a motion?
I move that we approve the contract for the safety.
In a second?
You guys have, we as a district have worked with Jessica Peterson in the past. I notated that in the board item. And given the fact that we have a new administration, we have a fairly new teaching staff. And we have a world post-pandemic where we're still navigating all the new complexities of the various safety related things that we need to do. We identified that we could really use some help in this area. Jessica is an expert in this field. She's been doing this for 20 years. She works for the Roseland District, and she is a part-time teacher and a part-time safety coordinator. She has children at our district. So we have her for the next 6 years based on where her children are currently enrolled and where they will be enrolled. And she has a vested interest in making sure that our district and our campuses check all the boxes as well as receive all the training. And it really drills down to, we don't always give the training to our staff in a meaningful way. We try, 15, 20 minutes here, there. It's about really identifying training that we can provide to staff that is ongoing, that we can provide to administration as well as district office staff, so that we all know our role in the place of an emergency and hope we never have to use it. And going over those large scale emergencies that might happen and make sure everyone is comfortable. And then going one step further and communicating that plan to our students and communicating that plan to our parent community. And then getting to a point where we're having a big drill where we're doing more than just an earthquake drill or a lockdown drill or a fire drill. And not to diminish any of the efforts that the school site staff and the teaching staff and our amazing classified staff have already done, but to address the need that we really could use an expert in their field to help guide us a little bit better, to sharpen our emergency and our safety plans. I'm only one person, and especially with the amount of workload that we've got going on over here, I also have 20 years of emergency preparedness experience, but I don't have all the time to dedicate to this that I would really love to. And I really want to make sure that we're supporting the school site administration and staff and our students and community this remainder of this year and the next couple of years with really getting good plans in place. And so I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'm also really excited to present this and work alongside her and help facilitate really good plans going forward.
Questions from the board?
So I couldn't, from your description, I think I might have the answer to your question, but from what I read, I couldn't find it. So it sounds like what I read, it looked like Jessica would come in and do trainings. Will there also be a deliverable handbook so everybody knows their role and they can step into that? I think you mentioned that.
Yes, I don't want to say there is a deliverable handbook currently. It is evaluating that handbook and improving it, where it actually addresses commonality between district and both of the school sites. It addresses some of the complexities of our district in how we reach our community when some of them are unreachable during certain events. I think it's just sharpening that pencil and making that document better. And I, again, don't want to diminish the work of anyone who's come and helped put that document together. It's really, really great. But it's also incorporating the state and national management systems that we're required to follow and incorporating that into, let's just say that those documents are this thick that we're supposed to follow into something that's consumable for everyone here. Yes.
Right, and I mean, the roles would change as there's turnover. So, yeah, just because that document already exists, it's no.
So just be very clear, we update our safety plan every year at the beginning of the school year. And the goal is to have Jessica work with admin on what that looks like. So we're constantly refining those roles based on people who no longer work here and the new staff coming in. And we usually do a survey of, hey, what's your experience level? Oh, you're trained as a this, you'd be great here. And to find out what people would be comfortable with. So a lot of that happens at the beginning of the school year. I think what we're working on is really making that plan more uniform across the district and a useful reflective tool that addresses how do we handle storms? How do we handle threats to the campus on a weekend?
Note that one of the things I'm really excited about too is progressively moving towards scenario-based drills. And that's something that we talked about and will be part of the 3-year plan, especially in light of the recent situation. So I had a chance to work with Jessica as a first-year administrator when I was a VP at Roseland, and I had never seen anything like it, the emergency preparedness and how she trained us to deal with crisis and ingress and egress for students and parents when there's a bomb threat. It's super detailed, and the fact that, you know, Jenny and the former teams have had a chance to work with her, and she's also a parent. She's got an invested interest. But I mean, seriously, the scenario-based drills She's done those in Roseland. She talked a little bit about that when she met with our district office staff. So you can never be prepared enough. And this is just gonna, as Jenny said, help solidify and just look at our processes from a different lens. And Roseland is super fortunate that they have a full-time position dedicated to that. That's also because I think their per pupil funding is like 20 grand a student. Anyway.
But a lot of what she's going to do is come in and work with staff on training and then solidify and help be an extra resource for us.
And then my other question is just on the funding. You mentioned some safety incentive funds. So does that cover the entire thing? And how do you apply for that? Could it be available for other safety?
We get it every year. And Andrew could probably talk to that better than I can.
So that's determined by resident what they get. We do not get a lot. So no, it will not cover the entire cost. Because that fund also has to cover other issues that come up for other ADA compliant, workers' comp issues or compliance that needs to be done for employees. No.
And that's like
Accommodations, thank you.
That's a not to exceed amount, as Jenny wrote in the item, she bills by the hours.
Yeah, so if she doesn't bill for the whole time, those were guesstimates based on meetings that we've set up for the remainder of the year and an allocation of what we thought it might take on a monthly basis. And if she doesn't work, she's not going to bill us.
Yeah, it really seems like a worthy expense. I think it penciled out to $75 an hour.
Correct.
Go ahead, Jeannie.
As a former safety administrator and emergency preparedness person in my former life, this is extremely valuable and extremely important. And I think our staff are lucky that we would be willing to employ such a person to be able to do this and not just fly by the seat of our pants. Sorry to use that term, but I think that's kind of what maybe that, you know, if you're not got a professional that's doing this, it just makes it harder. So to employ a professional that's doing this, it just makes it a lot easier. And I think we'd be lucky to have her.
Any questions from the community? Are we ready?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we are adjourned.